All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The Remington Pod is live. We are back on a Sunday afternoon, and we are going to be watching, of course, another NBA Finals game, the 1985 NBA Finals. We thought that maybe, Sunday, I didn't know if it was a good day to watch a football game. We were like, nah, just screw it. It's Magic versus Bird. I mean, that's about as prime time as you could get, right? I don't know if that's equal prime time to going back into the time machine and watching an old NFL game, but again, prime time. It's about as prime time as you get. The only other thing more prime time in terms of a matchup than Magic versus Bird could potentially be the old Shuttleworth fam playing one-on-one, because I went to pull up the YouTube game of Lakers versus Celtics, and he got game free with ads right now on YouTube. So we're just gonna be live pivoted into a free he got game watch along. It is what it is. I don't know, YouTube. I feel like if your movie's if it's on YouTube free with ads, I feel like that's almost a discredit to the movie at that point. The only one that I have seen it, I say the only one, maybe that's not the case, but the only one that I will get, of course, caught if I see it on there free with ads, I'll watch is Dirty Work. They shout out Norm, R.I.P. They will have Dirty Work on there every now and then, free with ads. But outside of that, they never have like an actual, like, he got game again. Dirty Work, as much as it is iconic for, I think, the fans of Norm, and the real, if we're gonna just like, how silly can we get with a movie? And I guess again, it really is just Norm doing all his bits. So if you're a fan of that, then it is what it is. But I mean, again, he got game is Spike Lee, it's Denzel. It's still like there's some prestige with that movie. I know there's a little. I don't know if we go back like Oscars. I don't know, if that was like an Oscars level movie. But again, Oscars level people involved. So free on YouTube, chat. Hey, what are we doing? But we're just gonna jump right into the finals rewatches, because we're gonna try to follow along for a couple of games. I don't know if we're gonna rewatch two whole NBA games tonight, chat. Hey, it is what it is. But we are gonna try to at least go through a couple of the finals games from 1985. A couple of them were controlling the wrong TV here. A couple of them were not necessarily super competitive. Some pretty dominant performances, but it did seem like games 4 and 5 were pretty closely matched up. So we will try to revisit both of those matchups. And again, it's us, this is the fun of jumping in the time machine and being like, wait a second, what happened? We got to check the tapes, chat, and make sure what the people are saying is actually legit when it comes to, breaking down NBA history. You hear people talking all the time. You hear the arguments. I mean, you get people like us just saying things in these arguments as well, too, and kind of talking. And especially for our generation, for guys that haven't watched, for, I guess, again, the players that we haven't watched, whichever generation beforehand that be. There's multiple generations before us, of course, at this point of the NBA. At least, I would say 2 generations. No, it's got to be 3, right? Because you go Russell. I guess we're not really given the 70s there. Is it just every decade's a generation of basketball? And I know we go to like the team building, sort of the competitive nature of it. You could go almost every, 3 to 5 years almost. The league is shifting in some kind of way, but the fandom generation, who defines sort of an era that can be, and you're gonna have to have more of a 3 to 5 year run to define an era. But you just go as easy as every decade is a generation at that point. But still, I would say like the great player checkpoints, and that's why I initially said 2, because it feels like the great player checkpoints in NBA history, and I guess it now would be 3, would have been Bill Russell for like the super old heads, of course. Hey, whoa, shout out to the super old heads. But the OG great player would have been, and I guess before that, how if we want to get really technical for NBA history, but I want to say more just for the greater conversation. Again, kind of what you hear today as well too. Who do we have left? Hey, shout out. R.I.P. to the ones the ones before us, chat. But you got Russell is the old heads goat, and then the sort of the unk goat is MJ, and then the kids goat now is LeBron at this point. And then we'll see, I guess, when Wemby takes over at that, how many years before Wemby takes over, I guess. But that's why I would say 2. But then of course, obviously, revisit the 1985 finals for the NBA fans and for the greater, I think, sports fandom as well too. The Magic Bird effect is definitely in there, but I guess that is interesting and something I never really did think about until kind of thinking that out right now was, would Magic and Bird have been considered the greatest player of all time? Because that is, again, something, and maybe, the argument as well too is definitely there when they're, in the moment when both of them are retiring. But, and that's something I think for LeBron's credit as well. We always have to bring it back to LeBron, Chad. It is what it is. But that's, I guess, again, the guy from our era. So how many guys do we have to compare these legendary guys to? Shout out LeBron. But, he also has the conversation of the greatest player of all time, and that is, what we're talking about, but with also the face of the league popularity stuff as well too, because again, Magic and Bird definitely go on, like, I guess they also go on the NBA Mount Rushmore in that type of way. But again, like, would they ever have, because I guess Russell would have been the GOAT up until MJ, right? Or maybe Kareem-ish at some point. Oh, shout out Heinsohn as well on the CBS broadcast. Shout out. You love seeing the old broadcasters. We went back to the 2015 finals last time we did a finals rewatch. And I was going to say last time we did a live stream, but I just totally forgot about the Metro Boomin album. Hey, yo, shout out, chat. It is what it is. We had a little car trip with some of the friends this weekend, and make no mistake, shout out Metro. I think it was some of the older Metro songs that were being played. It is what it is. But yeah, we went back to that 2015 finals, and it's like the old broadcast crew of Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy. R.I.P. that trio with Mike Breen. But especially you go back and you don't even really know sometimes what the announcing broadcast people are going to be. You see the familiar faces at times. You're like, oh, Brett Musburger, shout out. I guess he's appearing here. We got a NBA on CBS. CBS, what happened? Hey, yo. I don't know if that's an L for them, probably, but yeah, you got Heinsohn, and I guess I didn't see I forgot who the play-by-play guy was for this, but yeah, I mean, again, regardless, how they saved the league, of course, Magic and Bird specifically, not Brett Musburger and Tommy Heinsohn, but Magic and Bird, how they saved the league and their popularity and marketability, of course, is what has propelled, not as only thing that's propelled them into their greatness. I mean, their achievements and the fact they're in the finals every year, not besides 85, is also why they're great. I mean, Magic is, again, right up there with the finals playoff achievement stuff as every great player in NBA history as well, too. And I mean, in some ways, I think maybe a little underrated compared to the Kareem factor of it. Because I guess Kareem did have the finals in the 70s. And again, now we're just kind of just spitballing as well, too, on games that we haven't seen. But, hey, is that a pause, chat? Do we have to say pause on spitballing now? I guess I never thought about that, but maybe we do. But I guess, we'll be better. But, yeah, you do have, again, the Magic Kareem duo with the rest, Worthy. I think Worthy is really great in one of these two, probably really great in these finals. I don't think the 85 finals is the finals in which Worthy ends up winning the MVP. But here, we'll go to these two games real quick on the box score as well, too. And pull these up here. But I think he's good in both these games. The thing about games 4 and 5 is not just the games were close, but looking back at the box scores, the competitive, all of the guys were playing really well. So there was some good scoring around for both the guys. And that's the weird thing from this era as well, too. You can't look back and go, okay, the efficiency and stuff necessarily all the way around. But it is, there in some ways as well, too, where you can see that even though, sometimes the 50, 40, 90, whatever splits in a game, or, the getting to how close you can kind of get to some of those checkpoints in a game as well, too. I guess it really is just a 3-point shooting thing, because you really you still had to carry the efficiency into the 2-point range. So it's not just and sometimes for a season as well, too, but for the individual games, for the really good games, again, you're still getting that kind of equal level efficient performance. So yeah, you see game 1, Boston really goes out and destroys as well, too. So I guess we could look at these teams going into the regular season, because this is a really great Lakers team, obviously, this 85 year. I mean, eventually, looking at it here, they end up winning the finals in 6. But just looking at the scores, game 1, we got a 148-114 in favor of Boston. In game 3, we get a 136-111 in favor of the Lakers. Game 2 is really competitive, and game 6 is a good, close score as well too. But game 4, which is the one we do have up right now. Do we have old ads on this as well too? This guy's just mowing his lawn right now. The Honda lawnmower. I mean, shout out, Chad. I mean, 85. I gotta be honest. Like, the lawnmower tech, it doesn't look too much crazier. I guess the real advancement because now we have a lot of like electric lawnmowers around here. So it feels like you either got the small lawn, so you just get like a little, at least again, just kind of like kind of around in our area. You get the little electric lawnmower, just like, okay, just get the lawn real quick. Or you got you got at least not a big plot of land, but you got, a sizable enough plot of land where you're like, I'll just get the rider and get out there and get it with the rider. Because if the people around here that get the land as well too, I mean, they want to mow the lawn. That's definitely a thing that people are into. I don't know if that, and again, a Midwest thing for sure. I don't know if it's not necessarily just coastal, like, because I imagine lawn care to some degree is going to be still a thing out in like the East and the West Coast. I know, like, this the city landscape of it all, where not necessarily ownership as well too. Hey, yo, chat, what? But like you might own like some condo in a or in a building or something, and just not have a lawn in that type of way, or not as much lawn. Or I'm thinking as well, like, if you do have a lawn, do you have more money, and now you're just getting care at that point, and not even take care of it yourself. But again, it's not even okay, I want the lawn and then want the people to take care of the lawn and make the lawn look really good, because that's another thing as well. It's like, I think we have to separate that into its own thing. Like, the lawn care guy that wants to take care of his own lawn, again, is different than lawn care guy that wants to pay to have a really nice lawn. And they could, I'm not saying that they might work in the same office and be equally successful, but it's still a different mentality when it comes to the, again, the upkeep of the maintenance of the lawn. The guy that likes to mow his own lawn is definitely a big thing. And there's, I'm probably more in the middle ground of, like, some days, it's like, oh, you throw the earbuds in and mow, it's fine. And then some days it's like, you really don't want to be out there. But, a crossing over into the line of even once you start doing the lineups around the stuff, it's, it's like, we're crossing into sketchy territory here at this point. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, I guess, we're off the Honda lawnmower commercial is long gone at this point. It is what it is. It's 2-2 to start the game, so we're gonna keep an eye on both of these games as we go throughout the live stream here. But we are also going to first figure out what initially was going to be. We're going to kind of live pivot something here, chat, because initially, and something we've kind of been joking about this summer, is having like a first, second, third, like an all Tubi team situation, like an all NBA team for, I guess not necessarily Tubi specifically, but for like streaming movie stars as well too. And I guess we could get into more as well what the rules maybe for that as they apply. But the concept of that was going to be the idea of the teams. But then a couple of minutes ago, right before we started, I was like, hey, yo, wait, I was thinking about the Hall of Fame game again. Hey, yo, we just can't. It is what it is. It's the only NFL game that's happened. So it's like Trey Lance, that performance is just going to be on the mind. But pause. But I was thinking about the Hall of Fame game, and I also saw a clip of like Sterling Sharp, shout out as well too, the NFL Hall of Fame induction. I saw him with a clip of like shuffling the people around and like taking photos with the different Hall of Fame statues, which I don't remember if he ended up going back to pose with his own statue, his own Hall of Fame, pause by himself, but he took like a picture with Jared Allen and a couple other guys, which I was like, okay, that is cool. But then he had Jared Allen standing over by another guy's statue as well too. So I was like, wait, is this like maybe like a joke picture? They're all kind of standing next to the other guys. But I was like, the idea of, okay, I'll go with the other guys in the class and take pictures with their statues, and like, okay, we're all part of it. Like that I was like, that's cool. But then I was like, oh, what they're doing like a musical chair shuffling around thing here? Like, what's going on? But then that made me think. I was like, well, we should probably just make like a Tubi Hall of Fame, because that makes more sense as well too. Because the all Tubi team, I think it could be a little too subjective, and I was trying to think about how we change that. year to year as well too. Like, how often do we have to update the all Tubi team? Like, does it have to be every time Tubi updates the slate or the streaming services? Like, like, I don't know how that works. But I think if we have a Tubi streaming service star Hall of Fame, I think that would make more sense. Again, inducting guys in for a legendary status and then having classes going forward. And that kind of helps us as well too, because I guess, with our own knowledge as well too, we're not going to be like the perfect first induction of this might actually be the what the actual first class should be if we do all, if we had all the knowledge of every movie star. But at least the idea of the Hall of Fame, again, you can induct more classes and kind of recorrect guys versus, and guys stay in the Hall of Fame as well too, versus, like just switching guys out on a all Tubi team every year for actors. And part of it, as we get into the rules as well too, is it's like, okay, or some actors, it's like the catalog is the catalog, so it just becomes, okay, are we just being subjective about the movies that we like at the moment? And I mean, I guess that's fun as well too. But then again, the Hall of Fame status, it makes sense. I think it needs to be something that officially starts, is like a Tubi streaming service type Hall of Fame for the movie stars that we have out there right now. And maybe we cook up a different name for it. Actually, no, wait a second. We were maybe did have one name that we were thinking about for it as well. But yeah, I guess one of the rules, if we were thinking about the rules as well too, because it's the rules and the way we were thinking about cooking up for the Tubi the all Tubi team. Hey, yo, it just has a nice ring to it. It is what it is. The all Tubi team. I think that might just have to be the way that it goes. I think, is there something with Tubi and Quibi? Did they see something with Quibi where people, like, the service itself maybe wasn't the best in terms of the setup, but people were talking about it, and the name Quibi definitely was around. Like, people were having fun kind of saying Quibi and like, hey, have you seen this thing on Quibi? Like, didn't Will Smith have a thing on Quibi? I don't know. I feel like even if he didn't, the fact that I feel like it's a little bit believable, even if it didn't actually happen. The fact that Will Smith could have had something on Quibi, it feels right, because just the idea that they would have overpaid massively for one or two real big stars to have some projects on the service. Maybe Will Smith is like a little too expensive, but maybe, I don't know, like Lawrence Fishburne. But hey, yo, Chet, now we might be stepping on the Tubi Hall of Fame. It is what it is. But yeah. So, anyways, the first team all Tubi. A lot of the rules, and I think the people that we would have had in that first initial all team do make sense as potential nominees, of course, for Tubi Hall of Fame as well too. And again, the rules at which we were going to approach the team, I think, apply. I filtered out the names in a good way, because one of the big rules, and I think the most major rule, good grammar alert, chat, hey yo, but the most major rule of the all Tubi team is that, and I guess we haven't pinpointed, we still need to like draw up legal language, I guess, of the Tubi team and lock it all in, but you do have to be, let's just say, moved into a different phase of your career. I guess, the first obvious one could be, because, we've had a lot of years of movies at this point, is, it could be a legend of, it could be an RIP legend at this point, where maybe the actor is just unfortunately not with us anymore. Time has gone by. Could be somebody from way back in the day. It is what it is. We're not saying, tragic endings for everybody. We're just saying, again, movies have been around for a while, so not every movie star, unfortunately, has lived to be 145 years old. So, it just is what it is. So those could be the obvious ones for the initial induction for the Tubi Hall of Fame. But again, that doesn't necessarily, is that just a rule going forward? Like, do we have to honor the people after they're gone? And then again, it's like, they're never going to see the fact that they were inducted into the Tubi Hall of Fame while they're walking this earth. Like, we kind of want to honor the living legends as well too. So you do have to be moved into another phase of your career. Now, of course, fully retired, I think, can be a little bit difficult, and especially now in 2025 or 2026 as well too, as we head that direction. Like, just the cameo culture, I guess, in a way, but also as well too, just the amount of things that are being made is just insane. So the opportunities for a cameo increase, and it's just like paychecks, and here, let's just throw him some money or throw this person some money for them to show up for a couple of minutes and just be in a scene or whatever. Like that, of course, doesn't feel like the person is definitely acting in a, in a real way. And we're not being critical of anybody in that type of phase of their career. Again, we're just saying that to be eligible for the Tubi Hall of Fame, you can't necessarily be a major current movie star right now. Because I'm trying to even think of major movie stars. Well, I guess there is a couple that we will. I was trying to think necessarily outside of this list that I have a couple of the names as well too. But the idea of like Michael, and again as well too, like those movies haven't necessarily moved into sort of the second life, but maybe like James McAvoy. Like here, let's look at like a James, because I don't know if James McAvoy is necessarily like, hey, shout out, legendary guy. He could be, a nominee for sure. I mean, you look at the names that we got. We got some pretty legendary names to potentially nominate here. What's this? Wes Laney in a State Farm ad? Loretta Haling? Again, remember, guys, 1985 finals, onto the background. It is what it is. I don't know we'll try not to get sucked into the old commercials. Pause. Ayo. More than the actual game itself. But it's definitely, it is what it is. It's just the more unique thing that's on in the background as well, too. Again, we just, we have NBA on a lot in the back. It is what it is. Check the tapes. But is that also a pause? I don't even know, chat. But it's the Belmont Stakes on CBS. CBS Sports was hot back in the day. Struggling Larry Bird in the 1985 playoffs. They put struggling in quotes. We're back in the game now. It's like the graphic for coming back from commercial. They had him so Larry Bird, I guess, in this playoff specifically, the graphic doing the work for us, he was 57% from the field in the first series against the Cavs, and I don't remember the next couple of matchups, but he was under 45% from the field in each of those next couple of playoff series, but is the most valuable player of the league this year. And again, both these teams are stacked as well too, so it wouldn't be surprising for then to be able to carry a little bit. And it's Bird as well. He's going to be playmaking. He's going to be doing other things to contribute. But I guess to go back to pivot from Larry Bird to James McAvoy, could James McAvoy play Larry Bird in a commercial? Or not a commercial, ayo. Now we're still thinking of commercials in a movie. I guess just a big budget commercial, ayo, James McAvoy playing Larry Bird. But we got James McAvoy in the Larry Bird movie. I don't know. How tall is McAvoy? Does it say here? Wait a second. Okay. Quick pivot, chat. We got to go. And I guess maybe AI, we can do some height sort of manipulation tactics as well, too. Oh, chat, James McAvoy. We're not going to, we're not calling anybody out here. I'm just saying that in the face, I feel like, hey, pause. The man is definitely a little, there's a little Larry Bird there. I mean, hey, what are we saying? But I feel like it's not too crazy. And, again, McAvoy's a good actor as well, too. So he could get into character. McAvoy just smoking cigs as Larry Bird, just being from Indiana, could be fun. But, again, I guess, we're looking at his awards here. I was going to say, he had his first role in 2007. I mean, I wouldn't be so shocked. But, yeah, okay, 95. Yeah, I was going to say, here we go. Oh, yeah, because Chronicle, the Narnia series, is 2005. But I guess I would have thought maybe, that's like 07 as well, too. That wouldn't have been crazy. But I guess I don't know necessarily some of these movies beforehand. But again, like McAvoy, I guess a guy that could have some more prominent roles maybe in the past. But it's still, I guess he had Speak No Evil was pretty popular the last couple of years. Glass in 2019 as well. But maybe some of his more like, again, some of the more classic movies. Maybe McAvoy's a bad example. I don't know. But I don't even remember what we were going to use McAvoy as an example for, to be honest. It is what it is. But I guess, again, the first rule is that you have to be just moved into a different phase of your career. So I guess, was there even another rule besides that as well? You can't be like a part. The other big major rule was, and I don't know, maybe we amend this going forward as well too, because see, this definitely could this is definitely where it gets complicated as well, is idea that you can't necessarily be part of like a big, I guess it's not super complicated, but like a big sort of franchise or a big streaming service. What's the studio? A big studio property. So a franchise, obviously, like Marvel, Star Wars, those big franchises could be part of it. Not necessarily say that once you're included in a franchise, you're off the table, but that's not the movies that we're going to necessarily be considering as the major work in the Tubi Hall of Fame, if that makes sense. So again, a guy like Downey as well too, who is still, of course, current actor. So it's not like he would be in the mix, but he, of course, we can't necessarily consider Iron Man in the Tubi Hall of Fame or in necessarily the streaming service Hall of Fame. I mean, it is, of course, on Disney Plus, but it's a Disney property. It's gonna exist in that Disney type of way. I mean, the Avengers movies, like Infinity War and Endgame, do have a pretty good cable. Like, they are on TNT quite a bit, but again, those are Avengers movies as well too, and it's more the property. And I like Black Panther is on TNT, like Guardians as well. So again, maybe we amend it going forward. I don't know, but that felt like the initial rule because, again, the big franchises are a part of that, but also the big studio properties as well too. So a movie like Goodfellas couldn't also necessarily be, which again, the cable stuff, maybe we're getting too. So I think maybe again we're kind of gravitating more toward the B tier. It's more the B tier Hall of Fame, I guess, as well too. I don't know if we put it that way. So maybe guys that again appear in those movies could be considered, but those big prestigious movies, those big movies that okay, that movie is associated with that type of thing. That movie is on just plastered all over HBO. Just every time you log into HBO, it's like, oh yeah, don't forget you have to subscribe to this service to watch Goodfellas. Like, this is the place where it's gonna be at. They're not like, oh, Goodfellas is, and maybe it is. I'm trying to think if it ever is on like Pluto or something like that. It'll kind of sneaky be on there every now and then, and they will be. It'll have its like media tour. It's like, oh, all of a sudden now, why is Goodfellas just on this streaming service? But again, for the most part, it's associated with kind of, and it's a big major property in that type of way, kind of associated with in the studio, big legacy movie. So not really the tier that we're looking for in this type of way. So again, not necessarily saying that every movie on the the quote unquote quality scale of Goodfellas is off the table. But again, Goodfellas transcends that cultural property, and it hasn't necessarily been spun off into the IP into the same type of way where it's like, oh, here's the 7 Goodfellas TV shows and the 3 Goodfellas movies that we got off of this type of thing, which, Hollywood's like, wait a second, why haven't we done that yet? Let's just, take apart this Goodfellas property. That's the next one, chat. Hey, yo, we'll ruin Goodfellas before the 2030s. Lock it in! But it is what it is. But at this point, and even still, again, it's a movie big enough to qualify in that type of way. So I don't know. I don't have a list of movies like that because again, not every movie, even as prestigious as Goodfellas, gets locked down in that type of way. I guess Disney maybe specifically is a little bit better at sort of locking down their properties on Disney Plus. But it is what it is. They just kind of get onto that one service. And I don't know if that's a sort of reflection of where we're at in the modern times versus, I don't know, the history of how they were, allowing some of these things to be out on cable and such and stuff like that. But some of those movies just kind of get classified to the one thing in that type of way. And I guess in some ways, if we are sort of, again, classifying a movie to just sort of Tubi in general, then we're being a little, we're double talking a little bit in that type of way. But I still think that those type of movies are a little bit more fluid with how they bounce around than, like we're saying, some of those movies that get stuck to the big prime streaming services like that. So those would be the 2 major ones. I guess maybe everything would be like an amendment sort of off of that at this point, and I guess we can add rules as well too to make sense as it goes. And I guess to kind of throw out some actors as well too to help define what rules, the rules that we were talking about. And it could get interesting as well going forward. Like, do people kind of play themselves out of the Tubi Hall of Fame? Because Demi Moore was one that would have been, and again, we're not trying to be like, who's washed up as an actor in 2025? Welcome to the Tubi Hall of Fame. Again, it could just be like the person's retired, the person's done acting. It is what it is. There's another, the first name that the first couple of names, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. Their movies are all classic movies from in the past, and it makes sense that they're probably not going to be starring in movies in the same type of way. But again, Demi Moore was just nominated at the Oscars for Best Actress. So I don't know if Demi Moore, and again, if you're a blockbuster, it's like all of a sudden if you're in a blockbuster movie, now all of a sudden you're ineligible for the Tubi Hall of Fame. I don't think we're necessarily saying that as well too. So I guess, she proved that she could lead a movie, which I guess is the point that we're trying to make in general. She led The Substance and carried it to, was that nominated as Best Picture as well? I don't remember. But again, her performance got nominated, and it was her and Madsen that were, I believe, in contention. If there was another person out of that crew that was a little closer to winning, then, my bad. But those are the two names that I remember kind of everybody arguing about in the moment for that award. But I guess if we just, and how many roles has she even done recently as well too? Oh, okay, she's in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Nice. A movie that's been on the watch list now for, I guess, a couple years. Corporate Animals in 2019. Who directed this? Patrick Bryce. Rough Night 2017. So, just a little bit more selective with the roles. I guess you couldn't necessarily say retired or like moving into a new phase of their career at this point. But, she definitely would have been watch list, candidate, like, hey, what's happening? But it is what it is. But again, now she's nominated back again. So it's like, I don't think Demi Moore can necessarily be considered for this type of award if this type of post-acting legacy award if you're, currently one of the best in the game. So another one as well, too, would be like Denzel. Denzel, has he had like a Training Day role? Or, again, not necessarily like, has he been that good in a movie? But has there been a movie outside of like The Equalizers, of course, but it's like, this is Denzel's movie in a major type of way like that. He has more, Gladiator 2. I guess I haven't really even seen trailers for this new Spike Lee movie because, like you guys know, we just like to go in with as little knowledge as possible, just be surprised by the movie or the album or, whatever the sort of entertainment experience is. But I imagine, so that'll be an interesting role to see, I guess, how valuable he is in that movie and what his carry a movie abilities are still as well. But again, he's still he can still be a great co-star in a movie, so he's not done with acting or in a post sort of acting type phase. So I don't know if Denzel could necessarily be considered as well too. And he's a good one where he has shock, hot take, Denzel's a good one, but he has, again, every level of movie where you could say, maybe American Gangster is a little bit more in that prestigious, this is not quite like the Goodfellas type cultural impact, obviously, in the way that movie is like carried on. But, well, I guess in some ways it definitely is. But it's still, he still has the second tier of movies where, like Man on Fire, Deja Vu, those type of movies are going to always be on those, those like fun, easy access type streaming services as well too. So even if you're not, you're taking away, and Training Day kind of is on the line. I think Training Day is definitely a Tubi movie for sure. Netflix is the weird. I was debating is like, because Netflix is still, because the other ones are more like studio services, and Netflix of course isn't still like the full on studio quite yet. So they will pull the movies. They still have to kind of pull the movies from the other random studios in a way that just HBO and Disney and these other stuff aren't. Like the real only way you get it with Disney and stuff is the fact that they're combining with Hulu. And then maybe Hulu is getting the other services in that type of way. So you're just, if you have Hulu, because you have Disney Plus, then you're getting the extra studio variety as well. So I guess that is maybe the point of is what we were saying, is those movies that, I guess there are, so I don't know if they're non-major studio movies in that type of way. I guess we have to go into the history, we'll like look into pay attention more to the opening credits of the movies of who's making these. But those movies that just tend to bounce around, like we're saying, and not pin down to a studio in that type of way, where you just associate that movie with that type of thing. Because again, I guess we already said it, but yeah, Disney is that where Disney's not always making the Oscar films. But it's like, oh yeah, this is a Disney movie. This is on Disney Plus. I guess like the Pixar library would be, or the classic animated films would be a good example of that. But just any of those like kind of teen comedies as well too are kind of over there as well. But Demi Moore, like Denzel, both of them were kind of like, yeah, they're still, again, very much present in 2025, even though they're just so legendary, and just there's so much, I guess, in our own personal rotation that we want to put some of those 90s 2000s, I guess, even for Demi Moore, some of those 80s movies as well. So you get St. Elmo's Fire in there, which another Tubi Pluto classic is though those movies are just always in the rotation. So they definitely have the case, and they're definitely going to be first ballot names once the retirement sort of post acting thing starts to happen. But right now, those were the two biggest names that I thought were good examples of maybe they're still not the mega box office star, or again, Demi Moore was getting the acting accolades. I guess Denzel could still definitely get there for sure. I mean, we're not writing him off in that way, and I'm not writing off his own performances. It's just more like, are people still ready to have that conversation? I think if the performance is undeniable, again, like Demi Moore proved, then people just talk about it. But it's if he gives a competitive performance to somebody, and then they gravitate toward the newer name, just because that's where we're at in 2025. No disrespect to anybody, but it's how time goes. So I don't know if he's in. He doesn't. I guess the point is, I don't know if he gets the Denzel benefit of the doubt anymore quite yet. Where, a guy like Chalamet is kind of in that, or again, like our guy Michael B. as well too, can kind of get that. I guess maybe he gets that going forward. I don't know. Chalamet kind of already has it as well. Leo a little bit. Again, Leo with the actual wins in the Oscars is a little bit of a different thing. But I guess, speaking of Goodfellas, like De Niro and Pacino are a couple other ones where I don't know if we make them eligible quite yet. We'll do some research. We might have to amend it, and they'll probably ultimately, end up in. It is what it is. But for the first ballot, their movies can still feel a little bit too prestigious at this point, because Heat is not a movie that's like, okay, this is, an HBO movie or a Disney movie. It's definitely, it's not a Disney movie in that type of way. But again, it is kind of a Netflix staple when it is on there. It is sort of a big prestige sort of all-time movie in that way. Of course, it both features both of those guys, but then you also have them with prime roles in The Godfather as well too. And then, like we're saying, De Niro, other prestigious roles in Goodfellas and then Casino as well, where maybe Casino can kind of dip into the Tubi Pluto run a little bit more than Goodfellas, but still maybe it still gets that that cultural sort of maybe not quite the cultural thing, but it still gets I think retroactively the kind of standing that Goodfellas does. And it again, it's not on the same quite level of the list, but I think it could get into the same tier of the conversation of movies that we're talking about. But he does have the other tier of movies as well too. I mean, of course, he started to move into like the comedy role into the 2000s for De Niro. But, a movie like Midnight Run or Ronin could definitely be in the mix. So here, let's double check De Niro, I guess. Do we just make De Niro eligible? Hot take, chat. I don't know if that would be the craziest thing in the world. And we do need to, continue to research, I guess, whatever you want to say, the Pacino sort of B-tier movie thing. Oh, that's right, The Untouchables as well too, but he's just not in that a ton. But Al Capone is of course great as well. Taxi Driver, again, Cape Fear. I mean, we're just going through the De Niro catalog, of course, at this point. And De Niro, I guess he is a little Babe Ruth in that type of way. Jackie Brown's kind of a sleeper, where that's kind of a little bit of a cult hit. I don't remember the nominations and stuff for this one. Like, the cast, Tarantino, like, you imagine it did get some, post Pulp Fiction, it did get some love. But he does have kind of a big prestigious, his hits are kind of the big prestigious ones, or, they don't really have the sort of the same B tier movie type stuff. I guess a movie like, what's the movie that, not New York, but the other, is it The King of New York. That might be, again, not like a B tier movie. You got Scorsese and De Niro involved, but maybe that doesn't, it doesn't get quite held to the same standard of the other movies, and it does kind of get into that sort of beloved by the fans, cult classic-y type realm as well too. Angel Heart is been floating around on Pluto for a while, so I mean, he's got a couple. He might, I mean, it's up there. The Angel Heart, Ronin, Midnight Run, and King of New York, I guess, tier of movies would be the one, and Jackie Brown as well too. Yeah, we can always do an amendment, I guess. We'll do the first amendment in the next live stream. Just immediately 48 hours later, just okay. We have to add De Niro in. It is what it is. So we'll just put De Niro. We'll just immediately say is the first one that, like, I don't know if we're gonna induct him in yet because we have to decide about his B tier movie yet thing. So Pacino as well too, and it is the availability of the movies. I guess that's the third rule. The availability of the movie. Actually, it does have to be a movie that is kind of constantly in these streaming ones as well too, because a movie that I did just watch recently for Pacino, but we had to kind of dig around online to see where we can find it. A movie like Sea of Love, Ayo. So it's like, why are some of these movies, buried online? Maybe it is what it is. But again, his other ones can kind of get into that prestigious territory where, and Justice for All, and what's the other big 70s one that I'm thinking? Oh, Dog Day Afternoon. Yeah, 75 is another one. Those are kind of locked in on Paramount at this point. So you got Dick Tracy, Carlito's Way, Donnie Brasco, Devil's Advocate, I think is a streaming movie, but some of these just don't necessarily, like Any Given Sunday is kind of a movie that sneaky doesn't stream, or it ends up on like AMC Plus or something like that. So if the movie is on, this is an amendment to the availability rule. If a movie is on AMC Plus, MGM Plus, or whatever random streaming services that's as random as Tubi but not as accessible as Tubi, then your movie is disqualified as well too. So some movies will definitely go to those streaming services as part of the streaming service rotation, but some of those movies can just kind of be like spend too much time over on MGM Plus. So again, MGM, the studio themselves, that could explain it. But what was the other one that AMC Plus? Yeah, I guess they're they're streaming service as well too. But anytime I see a movie that's like, oh, why is this on AMC Plus? Like, just put it on Pluto. What are we doing? Just dissolve AMC Plus into Pluto at this point. Like Breaking Bad and Mad Men or whatever. They're carrying AMC Plus at this point. Have to be. But yeah, some of these, Righteous Kill is a fun one that's on Tubi right now with him, and it's Pacino, De Niro, and 50 Cent is the bad guy. So, I mean, this is a winning cast right here. Gurewitz, the writer, is the writer of Inside Man. Denzel, Spike Lee, Clive... I almost said Clive Owen. It is Clive Owen. I almost said Clive Davis. Who's the guy in the movie, chat? Hey, yo. Whichever Clive Denzel's going up against that, but probably both. One off the screen, one on the screen. Who knows? But Gurewitz is the writer. So, I mean, 2 for 2. Russell Gurewitz. It is what it is. I don't know, House of Gucci in a couple of years becomes a sort of Tubi classic. Who knows? Maybe it's already kind of on their way. But he is kind of in the both opposite ends of the spectrum, like we're saying. The movies are either prestigious or they're not available. So we have to reconsider consider Pacino a little bit as well too, potentially in the future. But again, the first couple of nominations that we have, it like makes total sense that like for where these guys again are at. The first one, again, an RIP. I don't remember exactly when he passed, but it's been within the past, definitely within the past year, and I want to say it was earlier this year as well too, but maybe it was sometime in 2024. But I mean, the legendary Gene Hackman has to be the first name available, and he is a perfect example of he doesn't really. And here, I guess once again, we'll go to the Gene Hackman filmography and pull up just all the legendary movies that we have in this list. But and again, just a ton of legendary movies. He has the movies like The French Connection, I guess, is the one that I was thinking of as I was making the list, where I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, it was a pretty big box office success. I mean, it's a movie that has continued to be influential, and people are always referencing it as this movie impacts, every modern movie ever. But I wasn't necessarily certain of the in the moment, which I imagine it was still, again, a hit. But I didn't know if it went into sort of the blockbuster type thing. But I don't think it quite, again, crossed over, even if it affected film in a way that maybe like a Goodfellas has. I don't know if it quite has the same sort of, like, we're referencing it in the quotes and the scenes and the moments from a movie like The French Connection have necessarily carried on the same way. And that just could be time as well, too. Again, The French Connection is 1975. So Goodfellas is still, 30 years out. There's still a newness with that. It's still twice as young as The French Connection, almost. But, just completely stacked, a ton of hits, every level of movie like that to the awards. He's on that one of the short list of actors that did win the best actor for the actual supporting role and the lead role. So, or I guess the actual lead role and the supporting role would have been the way to say that. But, he was actually one of the few guys to win it for both, and proves his versatility, proved his, again, the diversity of the roles that he could take on. But just multiple decades of hits. And even some of the movies that maybe didn't consider, like, good in the moment, hey, yo, it is what it is. Like, always picked movies with interesting, like, that's, I don't know if just, like, take lessons from Gene Hackman's career on how to make movies. Because, again, it is, like, just the recipe for, one, I just love watching Gene Hackman in a movie. So, I mean, if I see Gene Hackman on a movie recommendation, it's like, okay, I'll probably watch that. But every part of the movie that he usually is that he is involved in is usually also good as well too. It's like, okay, there's interesting cast, like interesting story. Like, it just never felt like he kind of overthought some of the stuff that he was picking, and again, always made sure to surround himself with other interesting people as well too, which had to be a conscious decision, because again, it's literally it's at some point, and I think kind of throughout his career, just overwhelming the amount of ensemble-y type casts that he's in. And not to say, again, he's like lost in every movie that he's in. It's just a movie, like, I watched Under Suspicion was just on Tubi, which was not a movie I'd ever seen before. It's him and Morgan Freeman, and it's kind of a heavy story as well too, for sure. Monica Bellucci as well too. So again, it's just like, okay, me and Morgan Freeman are just gonna be in this movie. And, he's not necessarily thinking in the 70s and 80s. I don't know if he's thinking, are people going to pick this DVD up and see another also star cast member on the back and be gravitated toward it as well? But that is, again, how I kind of also became interested in Gene Hackman. Is he's just in all these movies that you love, and just in appearing at, like, oh, he's an Enemy of the State and The Replacements, and, the way he was able to be in some fun movies as well, too, near the end of his career, or like Crimson Tide with Denzel. But then the prestigious roles, or even No Way Out, like Hoosiers is kind of the one where, and it's like it's him coaching a high school team. So I guess you could have had, like, 86. I don't know if you could have had like a young Tom Cruise on the high school team at that point and put another star in there. I don't know what the budget of Hoosiers was at that point as well too. Probably spent most of it on Gene Hackman, honestly. In 86 as well. 10 years removed off The French Connection. You got a couple Superman movies logged, like he is definitely probably taking a paycheck. He's got No Way Out the next year after that. So, that's like the one movie where he's kind of not the one, but, one of his major roles where he's in a real solo type way. But again, legendary, obviously his IMDb, won't be continuing. But again, he retired from acting in 2004. Welcome to Mooseport. 2004 is his last role. But even that is like Ray Romano is in that, and you have to know like Ray Romano in 2004 as well too. Like I don't remember the exact years for Everybody Loves Raymond, but I mean, you know, this has got to be peak of Ray Romano's powers. So we got him playing I forget is he the president in this movie? I haven't seen Welcome to Mooseport in a while. This might be one that is in the it's not quite streaming a lot type category, but again, he's got enough movies to make up for it. But it's like, okay, I guess I'll just work with a young star at the peak of his powers in Ray Romano. And you go back and you're like, you know what? Ray Romano and Gene Hackman in a movie? Like, kind of sounds fun. I don't know. Welcome to Mooseport's, kind of a tough title, but it is kind of funny as well, too. Like, it weirdly holds up in that Tubi type of way. So Gene Hackman is just the first lock for the Tubi Hall of Fame. It is what it is. And I don't know how many spots we get for the Tubi Hall of Fame here. Let's see how many spots the NFL Hall of Fame gets, because the Hall of Fame game is what just happened. It is what I was thinking about to inspire the Tubi Hall of Fame. So voting procedure, enshrinement ceremony. Do we have like a year-by-year honorees? Oh, that's for the Ralph Hay Pioneer Award. Okay, shout out the Ralph Hay Pioneer Award. But that's not what we're looking for. Where's the inductees list at, chat? Hey, yo. It is what it is. And I guess we want it by class as well, too. So here, let's just, I guess, Google the 2025 NFL Hall of Fame class and see how many names we get. Because I don't know if they have it where... Because I think baseball might have it a little bit... It's not like a set number. Maybe you can do like a couple... you can kind of mix it up year to year. But the NFL might have a set number. The NBA does maybe have... it's got the most generous Hall of Fame. We know the jokes about that. But it may also just have the most people awarded in as well, too. Which, shout out. It makes the NFL Hall of Fame, like, you don't want to say actually prestigious, but it's like you've got a lot of guys that need to get in and not a lot of spots for people that can get selected. So wait, was it 4 guys that got enshrined this year? Oh, wait, where's Antonio Gates at, Chet? Okay, there we go. Wait. So where's the class? Yeah, just 4 guys, I guess. Shout out. So I thought maybe they had like 7 to 8. It just keeps mentioning these 4. And this is the only pictures we get. So I don't know if we can, again, have a year-by-year class. I don't know if this would be this difficult to look up. It is what it is. I guess I just would assume they had more than 4. So I guess, shout out. We're going to NBA Hall of Fame. I guess NFL Hall of Fame inspires, but the NBA Hall of Fame more attainable, I guess. So shout out the Tubi Hall of Fame. It's all about, attainability. So I don't know, 2025 class, when do they induct the classes? Have they even had the class quite yet? Okay, yeah, they did have one recently, yeah, because Melo got inducted. Sue Bird, shout out. Maya Moore as well, too. And you always get a couple of, like, executive coach type people. Dwight Howard, shout out. All-time list. No, here we go. Okay, we'll just click into this one here. Sylvia Fowles as well, too. So where is the fullest? Oh, and we had the team. So do we have to induct like a Tubi movie into the Hall of Fame? I don't know. Or a writer? Shout out Russell Gurwitz. He's going to the Tubi Hall of Fame. Danny Crawford, the referee. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 spots. 9 players plus a contributor. I guess a ref and a team as well, too. So they don't really have that many spots, I guess, for actual players getting in. So shout out. Maybe NBA Hall of Fame, not overrated. It is what it is. Maybe the NFL is a little, it's a little fluid in the year to year. You can kind of move it around with the number. But, yeah, so we'll go like 8 spots, I guess, for the Tubi Hall of Fame. So, again, Gene Hackman, number 1. Lock it in. First ballot. Tubi Hall of Famer. The second lock has to be Jackie Chan. It is what it is. And the peak Jackie Chan movie. Rush Hour, I wouldn't quite say it's a franchise or an IP quite on the level of Goodfellas, even though it is iconic and quotable and, rewatchable, all different stuff, however you want to, whatever it is, the movies are still, there's still some fun parts to the movies for sure. So, and great Jackie Chan in those movies, great stunts throughout, and just the marketability. I don't know if that's like his most successful from a box office standpoint from what he was in. I guess I don't know if I'm recalling another like franchise necessarily that he was a part of as well too. So I guess here we can pull up the Jackie Chan filmography as well. But he is one where you almost don't even have to include the Rush Hour franchise. Like you get to, obviously, and it's, we love to include it because we love the Rush Hour franchise, but you don't have to necessarily include it in his other filmography sort of case for this candidacy, because the accessibility of it, like he does have a lot of those movies available on Tubi. Like I don't know if they just have a Jackie Chan contract where they're like, okay, we're just gonna put a dozen of these on here for people to watch. But I'm trying to remember if Enter the Dragon is on there right now or not. Of course, shout out our guy Bruce Lee. But once you start going into the 80s, 90s, 2000s, here, of course, Rush Hour is end of the 90s. Here, where are we at? 97. Yeah, Mr. Nice Guy, First Strike. So back to back. I mean, what we got a run starting here, chat, for Jackie Chan. Legend of the Drunken Master in 94 as well, too. I'm trying to think. Is Super Cop on Tubi? Super Cop has got to be on Tubi. I've definitely seen this poster as well. So, I mean, again, he's got tons of movies on Tubi. There's always a great rotation, in the Pluto run as well, too. Just a bit. The Medallion 2003 is pretty fun as well. And again, the baseline for a Jackie Chan movie is incredible because at some point, and especially with a lot of these, maybe not even the investment that Rush Hour got, like the amount of just Jackie Chan fighting and stunts is gonna go crazy, and it's gonna be great. And Jackie Chan is one of the great stunt guys that we've had in Hollywood. And I know that the MMA thing is a big, or I guess maybe, yeah, the MMA thing, or I guess MMA movie kind of implies a different type of thing. I feel like that implies more UFC, but if you say martial arts movie, I feel like you get what I'm saying, even though MMA does stand for mixed martial arts. And if I say MMA movie, I feel like you would get it, especially, we're talking about Jackie Chan. But again, that just like old school type of martial arts movie, I guess, a guy like Jean-Claude Van Damme could definitely be in the conversation here for a nomination as well, too, for the first ballot, Tubi Hall of Fame. But that type of stunt work is a different type of stunt work, again, than just like a MMA fighting or just really cool like hand-to-hand combat. Because Jackie Chan he's not even doing just stunts as well too. Like he's doing a amount of parkour. Hey, yo, Chad, I don't know. I guess I didn't realize that we were, big parkour fans of movies, but he does work that part into his stunts that ups those an extra level. So you're getting him in kind of these impressive set piece areas, and he's always like navigating down a building. I was just watching one the other day where he's like, okay, I fall off this building, but there's an air conditioning unit here that I land on, saves my life, and it just turns out like there's I'll just jump down the air conditioning units level to level to get off this skyscraper. It's like, it's just perfect set piece time and time. There's one, maybe this was, I don't even remember the same movie, that you could just have them all blend together, and it's like, is this the same Jackie Chan movie? It doesn't matter. We're just in another Jackie Chan. He's getting chased, and he's having to run around. Where he's, like, hanging off of a ledge, and the guy's trying to, like, chop his hands, and he has to move one hand at a time, and, of course, still balance on the ledge, and use one hand to hold onto the ledge, and the other one to avoid getting his hands chopped off, and it's just back and forth, back and forth. It's like, how is Jackie Chan balancing on this ledge? Is he actually up on this building doing this? I don't know what's happening. But again, the amount of fun that you're going to have watching a movie, but also you get a couple of those, like, not cult classic, but those extra level hit movies as well, too, with like a Rush Hour or I feel like Rush Hour 2 and 3 are the movies that kind of get more on the Pluto Tubi scale, more so than the first Rush Hour. But regardless, Jackie Chan is another lock along with Gene Hackman. So, I mean, that feels like a pretty easy 1-2. I feel like we got to also lock in Eddie Murphy as our third Tubi Hall of Famer. Another sort of kind of controversial one because the Beverly Hills Cops are a pretty big Paramount prop. Like Eddie, he had that Paramount contract in the early 80s. So those, and it really worked out for him. A lot of hit movies that were really great. And they are, again, locked into that Paramount service. So Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, and I'm not necessarily Coming to America, but there's another one in there as well too. I can't believe I'm not thinking about it. But maybe I'm just thinking about Beverly Hills Cop 2 and 3, honestly, at this point. But just between Beverly, and again, those are like two of the big Eddie Murphy movies, of course, just in terms of not just his performance and the rewatchability, but you're crossing that with the critical acclaim and also the Golden 48 Hours, of course, is the other one that I'm thinking of, and the Golden Child. But Beverly Hills Cop is a big Pluto movie for sure. They're like I think there might just be a Beverly Hills Cop channel where they run 1, 2, and 3. There's times where I'll go to bed and it's like they're playing Beverly Hills Cop #1, and then I'll wake up and it's like Beverly Hills Cop #3. And it's like it's just, best night's sleep of your life. But again, speaking of the Golden Child, even if we take out Eddie Murphy's another one, we take out his top movie. So I don't know if this is you take out your top movie type list, but we take out the Paramount run to start. I guess so. Is the Golden Child, is that in that contract? I don't remember when he signed that. Maybe he signed that after Beverly Hills Cop and then made the Golden Child. I'm not exactly certain. Coming to America, Harlem Nights is another Paramount one for sure, but that's a Tubi staple for sure. The amount of times that we've fallen asleep to Harlem Nights, it is what it is. But if you go, and maybe it's the one-off movies as well too, but if you go Golden Knights, Boomerang for sure, but even the bad Eddie Murphy movies are still good. Golden Knights, Vampire in Brooklyn, Nutty Professor, Dr. Dolittle, Bowfinger, Daddy Daycare. Dreamgirls is a different type of movie as well too. But that movie's kind of sneaky. You can find that pretty easily on streaming a lot of times as well. I guess we could make the current actor case that he is still, again, like a very working actor. Beverly Hills Cop, I guess. But he is sort of a one, I guess he's got the Netflix thing, and he's got voice roles as well. But between Coming to America, but the second Coming to America and Beverly Hills Cop 4, like it is a little bit of the legacy sequel, paycheck type moves as well. So you got Dolomite as a pretty big role, the critical acclaim there as well too, 5-6 years ago at this point. But Eddie might be in the moved into a different phase of his career territory, where again, if you're doing legacy sequels or cameo parts or voice work, like you're not necessarily, Eddie Murphy carrying a movie the same type of way, with all due respect. I mean, we know to Eddie Murphy, we're paying homage to the great movies that he's made as well too. Norbit, did I mention Norbit in that as well? In that just Meet Dave. What's the one that was I Spy? It was on our Tubi a little bit earlier. I guess it's not. This is just in his selected filmography. This isn't even in all the movies. I Spy. Give me Owen Wilson and Eddie Murphy positive movie. That is a fun time for 90 minutes or whatever. Professor to the Clumps. I don't know. This one might be in it just doesn't count in general type territory. It is what it is. But Eddie Murphy, lock it in. Adventures of Pluto Nash. Eddie Murphy and Rosario Dawson. I've watched this movie like 4 times in July, just once a week. I was putting on Adventures of Pluto Nash. It's still on Tubi. So, we might be watching it 4 more times in August. It is what it is. But, yeah. So, we got Gene Hackman, Jackie Chan, Eddie Murphy locked in. First 3 spots. And I think for a 4th spot, we've got to go... Oh, chat. This is tough. Okay, let's go. Let's get some ladies involved here, chat. Shout out. We got a list here. And now that we're going, we're going to have to eliminate a couple of names, because I did have the list for the all Tubi team as well too. So does somebody from a third team all Tubi jump up and take a Hall of Fame spot? That would be tough. I don't know. But do we have to go, I guess, in kind of the Eddie Murphy vein, do we have to go, see, this is a tough one as well. Is Angela Bassett Hall of Fame eligible at this point? Because she is still definitely getting parts. I mean, not, she's still definitely, getting parts for sure. And I think maybe she's got a Netflix contract, because I was looking earlier at her IMDb, and there's like a movie with Millie Bobby Brown in there, where's Damsel is in here, or this Orient in the Dark as well too, where she does a Netflix voice movie. Wendell in the Wind, another Netflix movie. Gunpowder Milkshake, is this a Netflix movie? It looks like it's branded like one, but maybe it's had a Netflix run. So a lot of voice work and a lot of those big franchise movie work. Like, again, she's excellent in Black Panther, of course, and she's really great in Mission Impossible. Like, she always steals the scene when she's there. But, and in Black Panther, especially, Wakanda Forever, she's doing a little bit more in that one. But those are a little bit more, and I don't know if she's going to, how much more she's going to be doing Black Panther work as well, too, going forward. Do you imagine that she would be more, is she going to be a major player in Secret Wars? I don't even know if she wants to sign up for that at this point, unless the paycheck's crazy. Honestly, at this point, Marvel, I just rewrite it around, Angela Bassett at this point. Secret Wars revolving around Angela Bassett's character, probably not the worst movie in the world. And Angela Bassett's just going to carry the movie into amazing, just like top 5 Marvel movie territory, just with her great performance. But between that and Mission Impossible and voice work, you could say that it started to happen. The next phase of the career has definitely happened. So maybe if she's in another big Netflix movie part that really hits, and it's like, okay, Angela Bassett is back. We got to take her back out of the Tubi Hall of Fame. But I think for now she's inducted in because, again, she's got the great work from the 90s and the early 2000s. I mean, just great career all the way throughout. But starting as the stewardess in Kindergarten Cop, it is what it is. But, Boys in the Hood, Malcolm X, What's Love Gotta Do with it? Speaking of Eddie Murphy, Vampire in Brooklyn, Waiting to Exhale, How Stella's Got Her Groove Back. So, again, she's another Mr. 3000, Mr. and Mrs. Smith as well, too. Didn't necessarily have Notorious 2009. Shout out. Olympus Has Fallen. Crazy stacked filmography. It is what it is. Again, probably just, is this selected as well too? I don't remember, but maybe not. Just taking great roles all the way around, but didn't quite have the, again, like big box office. I guess What's Love Got to Do with It? But that movie is I guess I don't know the box office for this movie. Did she get nominated for this part? I don't. Did she won? She won the Golden Globe. She nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars, but won the Golden Globe for this part. The box office, $61 million on a $15 million budget, I imagine is pretty good for sure. I mean, in 95, you got Panthers, Strange Days, Vampire Brooklyn, and Waiting to Exhale. So, I mean, who's winning 95? The only one right answer is Angela Bassett at that point. But, I mean, again, she's got to be locked in as well, too. How Stella Got Her Groove Back? I mean, chat. That movie alone will carry you into first team all Tubi territory. It is what it is. So we've got Angela Bassett, and we're also going to lock in Whoopi Goldberg as well too, who the Sister Act franchise is a tough one, because not a tough one to watch, obviously iconic to watch, but it is locked into Disney Plus. They have that movie locked down. It is not going anywhere. They know the importance of that franchise. It's iconic stuff. So, not necessarily a movie that you'll just find elsewhere as well, too. And again, that's about, iconic. Is that the first thing we think of when we think of Whoopi Goldberg? Maybe. But Ghost as well, too, as much as that can be a prestigious film, that film definitely bounced around. And Fatal Beauty is the one where, she's in a lead role as well. I mean, The Color Purple as well. But I guess are we watching Fatal Beauty more than The Color Purple? It is what it is, chat. Cancel us now. House Party 2? Soap Dish? Angela Bassett, 1995 versus Queen Latifah. Ayo. Still thinking about Queen Latifah because her name's up next. Ayo. Versus Whoopi Goldberg. But Yeah, the Sister Act franchise, of course, like we're saying, iconic. And then, yeah, her role again in Ghost as well too, where she wins the Oscar for it. That movie is an Oscar level movie, but still is a movie that you'll definitely find bouncing around as well. So Whoopi is definitely in there for sure. And is she still? What do we got for roles? Oh, I guess a cameo in the New Color Purple. Ezra, some voice work. Outlaw Posse, Stagecoach Mary, a 2024, written and directed by Mario Van Peebles. Oh, starring Whoopi Goldberg and Cedric the Entertainer. So Van Peebles casting everybody he worked with back in the 90s and the 2000s. Ayo, it is what it is. Shout out, did I say Martin Van Peebles or Mario? I don't even know. But shout out our guy Martin Van, I said Martin that time. Shout out our guy Mario. It is what it is. And then Babes in 2024 as well too. So she is, I guess, a voice role in this one. So yeah, I mean, again, Whoopi Goldberg definitely in a different phase of her career as well. But I said Queen Latifah earlier. Queen Latifah is another one kind of on the line of, what's the current stuff. Because, I mean, I guess she's got the TV thing going with The Equalizer. So is that show still going? Again, we don't watch TV shows. So I haven't necessarily been keeping up with the currency of that one. But her last, I would say, big movie role would have been 2019 with Girls Trip. I think that movie came out in 2019. Where's Queen Latifah's filmography at? Oh, wait, here it is. Shout out. So, yeah, wait, 2017 was Girls Trip. And then 2019, The Trap. 22, The Tiger, Hustle, and End of the Road. And then, not a role since then. 2026, though, we got Ice Age 6, a voice role. And then King of the South in post-production, I guess. But I did see on her IMDb a potential Girls Trip 2. So I don't know if that puts her back. Is that her Demi Moore back on the, back in the limelight type role for Queen Latifah? I don't know if we have to hold off, a couple of years and wait for Girls Trip 2 and then just kind of see what Queen Latifah does at that standpoint. But if they're going to bring that franchise back, then I feel like that has a chance again to be, with the success of this movie, with the way that this is leveled up, like this move, that might be actually like a sequel that's worth running back. But I mean, the timing of this as well too, like it's been a couple of years. I feel like it would be a good fresh story, but you could still get everybody at a really good point in their careers, and it would still make you could still make a sequel that's not like we have to stretch whatever the story is to fit where the actors are at in their life. I mean, unless there's other reasons why the movies wouldn't be getting made, but I can't imagine that they would pass up on potential box office of Girls Trip 2. Like, what was the box office of the original Girls Trip? Let's see, 140 on 19 million. So I was gonna say, there's no way that the second one's not, even in 2025. I don't know what the sort of unpredictable box office at times, but there's no way that this movie's not a $100 million movie at the box office if they make a second one. And you imagine they're pulling in 141 with the first one. Like, could they do 150 with the second movie? Like, here, I know we look it up a lot, but let's go back to the list here real quick and see what our top earners are. So our 10th film is Captain America at 400 million. So what would be like a top 10, or not a top 10, but like $100 million film that is not quite getting, of course, top 10 type box office number, but still pretty successful as well too. I guess Mickey 17. What was the box office for Mickey 17? I don't think that one did super well. Like, what was the box office for, what about that Final Destination movie? Let me see that one. And that kind of got the momentum of a bunch of films as well too. But again, the cult classicness of that Girls Trip does feel, that did 285. Whoa, chat. Final Destination might be one of the, it is obviously one of the breakout movies, but I mean like one of the movie moments. The the EPA for Final Destination Bloodlines. Like, it might be one of the most impressive seasons for a 2025 movie season, I guess. But either way, again, you know, if Queen Latifah is going to do a girls trip too, I think we gotta just put pause on that just holds up the whole Queen Latifah acting career. It's like anything is possible at that point. She's still a star. So Queen Latifah's gotta wait. But we got Whoopi Goldberg, Angela Bassett with Gene Hackman, Jackie Chan, and Eddie Murphy. So we've got a couple of spots left. And I think that actually makes it pretty easy. There's a couple of names that we're going to leave off that are like, oh, man, it is what it is. But, oh, man, I just said it got easy. And now I'm looking at more of the names. And it got even, oh, chat. Hey, yo. Do you have to take Eddie Murphy off for the fact that, again, the Paramount contract, not for the quality of the movies, but Vampire in Brooklyn's actually good, so I'm not taking that movie off. But we have Angela Bassett on there, so she represents Vampire in Brooklyn. But the rest of the Eddie Murphy, like we're saying, even the bad Eddie Murphy movies are fun to watch. So it's not going to be too difficult to talk us into that. So maybe he kind of takes a spot he might have to take a spot from a couple other guys. There may be guys from certain eras where. See, this is the problem now. If we're judging the B-tier quality movies, there may be guys where B-tier movies might be closer. So the name that I'm thinking of is Martin Lawrence. Like, do I take Eddie Murphy off and put Martin Lawrence on? Because if we're ranking sort of Martin Lawrence's B-tier, and I guess, you know, Martin Lawrence more, he doesn't really have the Trading Places. I guess the Bad Boys franchise kind of might be that, but he doesn't have the one sort of solo Martin Lawrence performance. I guess in a way, I was gonna say Beverly Hills Cop would be that for Eddie. I was gonna say, you know, Nick Nolte next to him in 48 Hours. He's got the Dan Aykroyd next to him in Trading Places. So for at least for those two, you know, he's got a little sidekick. But it's not like he's necessarily acting counterpart to Dan Aykroyd in that movie. For lots of that movies, you know, they're in separate storylines in that movie. And yeah, again, the Beverly Hills Cop franchise just proves everything. And just the rest of his career as well, too. Even if there's other fun people in the movie, like a lot of times, you know, it's Eddie Murphy is, you know, a big solo part of that movie. Yeah, of course, Martin Lawrence is in Boomerang as well, too, as one of Eddie Murphy's friends. But, like, a thin line between love and hate. Blue Streak is a great Tubi movie for sure. I don't know if that one's on there right now. I haven't looked that one. I've looked that one back up and watched that one again for sure. Where's the one with him and Danny DeVito where they're robbing the house? Nothing to Lose. Oh, him and Tim Robbins. This one is fun as well too. But what's the worst that could happen? This is a classic, chat. A heist movie with Martin Lawrence and Danny DeVito. I mean, you can't really get much better than that. So you got, Big Mama's House in here as well too. Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. I mean, you know, I guess the dude he's got a cameo in Tropic Thunder. Hey, yo, you never talk about the Martin Lawrence Tropic Thunder cameo. It is what it is. But he's got a bunch of those fun movies where he is giving you kind of the silly solo, you know, Eddie, you know, kind of all in the line of Eddie Murphy, but that, you know, could it be Chris Tucker as well too? Like, we could put Chris Tucker on this list based on the strength of Rush Hour and Money Talks, but it's a little bit of a limited discography based on those two movies. Again, those two movies are going to get as much watch time as anybody, but not quite does he have even more limited filmography than Martin Lawrence? You know, again, Martin Lawrence, at least there's a couple. So I guess it just depends. Is Rush Hour one thing, you know, at that point? I'm kind of giving him credit for that. So, I don't know, Mama's House, I guess, becomes one thing because there's two of those at that point. Is there a Mama's House? Oh, Big Mama's Like Father, Like Son. Yeah, there is a Mama House 3. So when are we going to make Mama's House 4? I don't know. But Martin Lawrence might have to be a second ballot nomination, as tough as that, you know, is to say. Eddie Murphy might have his spot in this list. So as kind of the comedy movie aspect of it. So, but for an actual nomination for the list, or like for, again, you know, speaking of like a guy like Jean-Claude, or I guess, you know, I don't want to start throwing out how many honorable mention names we want to go through, but Jackie Chan might have sort of the martial arts status on this. Hackman has sort of the major actor whose movies are kind of cult classic status. We've got the martial arts action movies. We've got the comedy action movies. We've got Angela Bassett, and kind of, she's got a pretty good diverse filmography, because she'll be like the mom in, like a hood film, but she'll also be in a Stella's Got Her Groove Back, she'll be the love interest in a rom-com. So you get a good range of roles with Bassett, and Whoopi as well too. It's some of those classic her as a sidekick character, but even Fatal Beauty, like we're saying. Maybe it's more Whoopi Goldberg on the run, I think, is the the theme of some of her movies. But there is some tough names for this last spot, last couple of spots. I guess now that Martin Lawrence has been relegated to honorable mention, it is what it is. So wait a second, we've got 5 people at this point. Oh, another name as well too of like, is this guy current? And I guess I'm not saying is this guy at the top of his game right now, but Kevin Costner is still working. So can we put Kevin Costner in like a post-legacy thing? In the movie thing, the movies themselves obviously didn't hit, but Yellowstone, even if he hadn't made the movies, and it's just like, okay, he doesn't have not just a bomb. It's like he's not just not making movies. Again, it's I don't know. There is a little bit of a difference of having the narrative. It's like, are you making good movies versus just retired, or what's happening? But again, he's still a prominent star, even if it's in a TV way. Like, it's gonna, I guess, again, it's not making movies, but it's gonna occupy your time, and his star power was still there. So I'm still gonna give him credit for being a modern star, even if it's not in necessarily the filmography in the way that we're looking at, because people are still talking about Yellowstone. I mean, that spawned, and even if that's Sheridan as well too, kind of getting, maybe, if we were doing a rewatchable sort of Apex Mountain, it's obviously not Apex Mountain for Costner, but, or maybe like a who won the show type of thing. Like, you could definitely argue Sheridan is the winner of that over Costner, in the way that it spawns the Sheridan universe more so than just like a Yellowstone sort of IP type of ordeal. Like, it really becomes based in his tone in the way that he writes those shows. But again, it revitalized Costner as a star, and it did, I think, allow him in a way to make those movies as well too. So he's still attempting to make and lead modern movies. Like Costner, I don't know if we can, even if he is, again, on the movie side of things, if we can classify him into moving into a different phase, at least he's attempting to lead and make and create, and has proven that he proved that he can be a star in Yellowstone, and he's still trying to make movies. So even if he tried to make the Yellowstone formula kind of himself, and that maybe is a trap that, again, he kind of fall into at times, I think there's still, again, is a recipe for him to still be that star power. So I guess the idea as well too, it's not just like who has got the potential to still be a star as well. But again, it's like it's on the table if there's a movie role for him with the right creator, and it is able to accentuate those performance things that Yellowstone was able to, and get him in. So I don't know, again, is Western the right type of thing as well? But it just needs to be somebody recreating, because it's not even the Western trope of it. Like, there's something even more basic that, more smarter film people could talk about, that, what is it about a Western that these stories are telling, more specifically that the tropes are being used in, and, not getting too crazy there, but you get kind of what we're saying on the just the more basic storyline principles of it. But how some of that stuff can be translated into modern action movies. But there just needs to be, again, a modern twist on whatever that sort of Western vibe he's providing that gets Costner in the right, people are talking about kind of a Costner movie again in that type of way. But I don't know if, like, his, first ballot, once again, like the Kevin Costner, Denzel Washington. I almost said Denzel Curry because I've been listening to a lot of Denzel Curry lately. But shout out Denzel Curry, not Tubi, but Spotify Hall of Famer. But the Denzel Washington, Kevin Costner, Queen Latifah class is going to be crazy. But I don't know if we can quite retire all those actors quite at this point. Versus retiring Martin Lawrence, but we're still leaving him on the table for that's 2025 as well. I guess now we're again the second team first ballot kind of debate. So we got okay. Well, I guess we're gonna put Wesley Snipes in the first ballot. It is what it is. and he is in the. I guess maybe we don't have a comp because I don't know if like White Men Can't Jump in New Jack City are quite on the Trading Places Beverly Hills Cop type level. Like Wesley Snipes, he never got the franchise that Eddie got. I guess you could say in a way that he did get the one-offs like that, where we're going for the Wesley Matthews search. Hey, yo, chat. It is what it is. We still got basketball in the background, even if we've kind of lost it here in a bit. But we've got here. Where's his? These are his awards. We got to actually get a list of his performances here. One of the great B tier / accessibility discographies that you have out there right there. And the early 90s as well too. I mean, just that King of New York, Mo Better Blues, New Jack City, and Jungle Fever as a 4-movie run. And then you have The Water Dance in here. So if we just kind of reorder these movies, you know, we could go White Men Can't Jump as a 5-movie run as well too. What was his, did he have, I don't know if he ever got nominated for an Academy Award or anything like that. Here, let's see. A couple of best villain in New Jack City. Like, I'm not, you know, making a joke about that. Like, I mean, you know, that is one of the best villains of all time. Nino Brown for sure. And best screen duo, like, yeah, I mean, you know, shout out to the MTV Movie Awards. You know, these movies feel a little bit more elevated than that. But again, that's more the category. You find him in kind of these off the path categories more so than, you know, a traditional, like a best acting performance or him landing himself in a best picture. But he kind of went that route as well too, where, and maybe that is the theme of the First Team All Tubi, as maybe not a rule, but again, maybe a theme as more so of what applies to getting on the list, where it's the kind of big star in a lead role in maybe not necessarily a movie that didn't quite hit the same type of way, but again, a movie that's just kind of under the mega star type status of a movie, where in a lot of times the in the moment stuff can again really impact, of course, how it impacts culture going forward. But Wesley Snipes was one of those guys that never had the major blockbuster, I'm going to be the lead guy in that type of movie, but always, like, you look at the movies that he almost maybe got trapped a little bit, like maybe a little too unique of movies. Like, it almost would have been like, you know, just do like one just sort of basic bank heist movie at some point, you know, if you're going to do action movies, or just another just sort of buddy cop movie as well too, or you're another villain, you know, more traditional villain role as well. But here, let's see if we can find, we're back on the Martin Lawrence filmography here. Let's go back to some of these Wesley Snipes roles and kind of see if you can see what we're talking about. So yeah, again, he's got the prestigious run, but again, even those iconic movies like White Men Can't Jump, Hulu classic, like they're not letting it off of Hulu, make no mistake. I mean, they even, you know, they went so much as to put another White Man on Jump on Hulu with Jack Harlow in it. So, you know, they're definitely loving that movie over there. But between Jungle Fever, New Jack City, I think a little Paramount Plus heavy for sure. Maybe if I'm getting that wrong, I don't know. But it is, I think, a little Pluto movie. So I think maybe there's a Pluto Paramount connection there. I mean, with the Beverly Hills Cop, it would prove it. I think that is how they use that service. But Jungle Fever is one that is a Tubi classic. And Mo Better Blues is another. I mean, again, great movie. You know, Spike, Denzel, and Wesley is just an iconic trio. But not necessarily a movie that's always streaming a ton as well, too. So, I don't know, I guess I have to remember the Academy stuff. I don't remember if this movie got nominated and stuff like that. Maybe I'm just assuming, obviously, it had Denzel, Spike, and Wesley in it, so it had to have been nominated for something. But, or like Major League, obviously, you know, great sort of streaming and classic type movie. But, yeah, like a movie like, you know, Demolition Man is perfect, you know, streaming type movie, obviously. But Passenger 57, you know, he goes for a plane thriller. In this one, he goes for the futuristic sci-fi sort of face-off matchup with Stallone. So I guess that is sort of the basic action movie, kind of the fun movie. And I mean, Demolition Man is one of his, you know, most fun movies that he was in as well too. And again, he's the villain in that, so he did lean into the villain stuff a lot. but a movie like a Drop Zone as well too, where they're like a not skydivers. I guess there is skydivers in this movie, but they're using like a lot of skydiving tactics in this movies as well too. U.S. Marshals with Tommy Lee Jones, shout out, and Downey's in that. Oh, Chad, I forgot Downey was in this one. We might have to go back to that one as well too. And I mean Blade, of course. Blade is another, not necessarily streaming a ton, but it'll, when it's out there, you definitely gotta rewatch it a bunch as well too. So you'll love the way that he was thinking with the movies that he was picking. I mean, Money Train as well too, and Waiting to Exhale. He's got the cameo shout out. Just maybe his best acting that he's ever done. It's just cameo and Waiting to Exhale. Not even a joke. He's electric in that. It's charming every time we watch that. We're just like, oh, I mean, I'll shout out Wesley Snipes. Maybe he needed to lean into that as well too. Maybe too many action movies for Wesley Snipes. Diversify the portfolio a little bit. But either way, all of those movies, great, unique premises, and he's just great performances in those movies as well too. He's always going 100 miles an hour. So you love Wesley Snipes. I want to say like Colin Farrell's a little like this. Maybe I'm just thinking about Phone Booth as well too. But he'll pick like the little, like the unique action movies, kind of like that, where it's not just cop has a drinking problem and is trying to chase down a bad guy. It's like, okay, this guy's they don't even have his filmography out here. It's like, okay, guy's stuck in a phone booth with a sniper attached to him, and he can't move, and he's got to try to figure that type of thing out. Minority Report, is kind of in that futuristic. Miami Vice is a little more classic as well too. He's got a mix. I guess the Total Recall remake, Ayo. But yeah, Wesley Snipes is going to be in, and then our last two spots are going to go to. I got a debate between two people, and I think we're going to have to go with Madonna. Oh, chat, it's between Madonna and Angelina Jolie, and I think we're going to go with Madonna. Basically, I think, and mainly, especially if we're applying the sort of current actor rules, then, I mean, Angelina Jolie is definitely acting. We can't retire Angelina Jolie just yet. I guess it would be, again, sort of when was the last sort of big performance? Because the first Maleficent movie was a decade ago, which, again, was an iconic Angelina Jolie role, and a great, I guess, maybe great use of IP is a little dramatic, but is a fun use of a spin-off movie in that type of way, where you've got the old animated Sleeping Beauty, and you're gonna spin off a sort of darker aspect to this kid's story and make it still, again, I guess it's still a kid's movie. So I guess it's not like, a dark movie for adults about Maleficent over here. But, tonally, it's a little bit different, and it is stylistically different again because it's a live action update and spin-off of the newer movie. So it's not just, let's just run back, like they did with like the Cinderella, or, I guess even the like Beauty and the Beast or whatever. Let's just run back the stories in the live action version. It's like, let's actually kind of get creative with how we use this IP. Like, I respect the Maleficent franchise, Chad. Maleficent 1 and 2, good. And she's really great in that. Like, Angelina Jolie, I mean, I guess she's Oscar nominated, right? So I guess, and iconic as well, too. So, us saying great actress is not necessarily a hot take. A Golden Globe nominated? I don't know, maybe. In a supporting role? Wait, what did she get nominated for? Girl Interrupted? She got nominated? Here, let's double check that and see if that happened. Yeah, Jolie won for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. So she's actually an Oscar winner. So again, she doesn't get that type of we're spitting out our gum, chat. She doesn't get that type of sort of notoriety of an Oscar winner. Like she gets, and again, she's got some. We'll talk about the movies that she's in Tubi stuff. Like she's had some specific type of roles, but again, she is like just a great actor in those roles as well too, and always sort of captivating performances. Like, has anybody sort of ever touched the levels that like Sharon Stone has gotten to on screen, just in terms of captivating audiences? But in the way, or maybe, again, even Margot Robbie as well too. Like, I don't know if she gets in that lineage as well. And I guess, like Original Sin, which would be one of the movies that's always on Tubi, is kind of, if we were going in a Sharon Stone playbook, like, is out of that Sharon Stone playbook. Margot Robbie's, she never really had like an Original Sin Basic Instinct, for the loss of the fans. Like, she never really had that type of movie. I guess, she's had roles where, she's definitely catered to her audiences, but those specific type of vibe for the movie, she's never really committed to in a full type of way. But between Original Sin and the Tomb Raider franchise and Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Gone in 60 Seconds, like, that's a pretty stacked streaming filmography right there. Just in those. And The Bone Collector as well too. Pause. But that's, Angelina Jolie and Denzel. So it's a little bit of a bummer that, and I actually haven't finished this movie yet. Hey, yo, pause. I think I watched about half of this, and I didn't just turn it off. I think we had to go to work, and I guess we just didn't get back to it. Hey, yo. So it is what it is. But those are crazy rewatchable movies. Like, Gone in 60 Seconds alone, again, just crazy rewatchable. Hey, that's more Nicolas Cage. But Tomb Raider as well too. And just, again, between those type of movies, you're getting sort of every aspect of a fun movie as well. Wanted is a fun movie. Again, speaking of McAvoy and Morgan Freeman, just watched this one recently. A Netflix movie, but, kind of in that Tubi. That's in the Netflix bounce around category, more so than I would say a Netflix staple, though who knows, maybe it becomes a Netflix staple as well. But you get her, again, a ton of action movies, a lot of gravity in those action movies, prove she could lead a franchise with the Tomb Raider franchise, or be a supporting character as well too in a fun movie like Gone in 60 Seconds. And again, those movies are always on, like Gone in 60 Seconds and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is, a little sneaky, like it might be in and out of the streaming services, but it's around, and those movies are always on when they're available. And Tomb Raider is just a great movie. You watch Tomb Raider with anybody, chat. I mean, Tomb Raider is one of those, like, low-key, you need a movie to watch, throw on Tomb Raider. It's just a fun time. But, like we're saying, shout out Original Sin as well too. It is what it is. So, again, I guess we're not inducting, for a second I'm talking like we're inducting Angelina Jolie into the Hall of Fame. I forgot, we were explaining the fact that she's still a working actress. So we were talking about Maleficent. Yeah, Eternals in 2021. And then not much since then, but Maria in 2024. And then we've got Couture. Was this like a Randy Couture movie? I don't know. Is this actually what this is? Let's see here. American film. Okay, so it's not a movie about the fighter. Randy Couture. An American filmmaker goes on a journey as she arrives in Paris for Fashion Week. Okay, so wait, who's making this? This is written and directed by Alice Winokur. So now we're in the Alice Winokur filmography, seeing Ordinary People, 2009. Okay, so some artsy films in here. Shout out French film director. We'll see, I guess, how that combination pairs up. So I guess the point being, we're inducting Madonna into the Tubi Hall of Fame. Shout out Angelina Jolie. Got a little distracted there, chat. Hey, yo, it is what it is. Madonna, chat. Nobody talks about Madonna's run from the mid-'80s to the mid-'90s as an actor, but this is some iconic stuff. Seeking Susan in 1985. You've got, Who's That Girl? Hey, yo, Dick Tracy. We've got Body of Evidence. Speaking of fun movies, we've got A League of Their Own, Dangerous Game, Next Best Thing in 2000. Who's in this? Hey, yo, shout out. But between Body of Evidence, Dick Tracy, I guess, is this all of the movies? I feel like there's one in here that we're missing. And Susan as well, too. Shout out. Maybe just some music videos. Some 85. Where's Moonstruck at? I guess that's the one that I'm thinking of, chat. Where is Moonstruck? What year was that? How come that is not getting listed? Am I forgetting who? Oh, is that Cher? That's because that's Cher, chat. Am I an idiot? Are we? Are we nominating Cher? Okay, let's do a quick Cher versus Madonna filmography here. Is Cher's filmography a page? It is. Uh-oh, chat. A live pivot. IT is saying that maybe Madonna still gets in. Do we say Moonstruck is a Madonna movie and give her and just AI Madonna into Moonstruck? You know, I guess 87, maybe she's a couple of years away from getting there. Oh, Vision Quest is the movie that I'm thinking of. That is the movie that I was leaving out that I didn't say. Not Moonstruck is obviously not a Madonna movie, but I was thinking of Moonstruck, but Vision Quest is the movie that I should have said. That is like a fun movie that's around on streaming that you can find. So you got Vision Quest, Desperately Seeking Susan, Dick Tracy, A League of Their Own, Body of Evidence, Dangerous Game. I mean, chat. Hey, yo. What are we doing here? I mean, Madonna is crazy. Maybe it's just Body of Evidence is a little distracting. I don't know. But Cher versus Madonna. Madonna in Moonstruck. How? Yeah, I guess we can recast that some other time. So do we have to potentially swap out for another spot? How many spots do we have left? Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we do have one spot left. Okay, screw it. We're putting Madonna on the list anyways. It doesn't matter. Madonna, shout out. You're in the Tubi Hall of Fame in the first induction. Even if you weren't in Moonstruck, I guess it's fine. I guess we haven't rewatched it recently, but I guess IT was thinking that for some reason she was in it and put it on the list. So shout out. But the last induction into the list is Cary Grant. Shout out. Again, no longer is Cary Grant no longer with us? Oh yeah, passed away in 1986. Okay, shout out. It is what it is. You know, it looked like he lived a long in happy life. So, whoa, I was gonna say born in Davenport. No, passed in Davenport. Shout out. So, I was gonna say I've never driven through Davenport and heard them claim, the hometown of Cary Grant. Make no mistake, it'd be one of the few things that they would claim. And I'm not gonna sit here and say like we've seen a ton of Cary Grant movies, but we're working on it, chat. We're working on it. And here, let's actually let me pull a quick Cary Grant search into the Tubi and see what we can get here. How many movies? Because if it's not a lot of movies, I guess we can put Angelina Jolie. Well, no, we can't retire Angelina Jolie yet. But I watched North by Northwest the other day because it was on. So wait, I guess I don't know if all of these are Cary Grant or if they're just like old movies that's like, yeah, it might be like Cary Grant. So yeah, these are all Cary Grant movies, I guess. We've got, and maybe this is again sort of the old movie factor of these movies are easier to have on streaming versus, again, when I say newer movie, compared to the 50s, I'm even talking about like the 80s and the 90s at this point. But just in terms of the movie rights, it might be easier to access some of these movies. I'm not sure. And again, I can't speak to how good all of these movies are, but North by Northwest was so good that I have to just assume that all of these other movies are going to be good as well too. But he's in the Charade, North by Northwest, Bringing Up Baby, 1938, The Bishop's Wife, Talk of the Town, The Philadelphia Story. So again, these aren't just all the movies that he's been in, obviously. These are just the movies that are currently on Tubi right now. His Friday's Girl, and then a couple of other Cary Grant documentaries as well too. Is Cary Grant in the 7-Year Itch? Okay, so yeah, this is a movie, old movie that's just like, if you like Cary Grant, maybe you like this movie. I was gonna say I didn't think Cary Grant was in that, but it's hard to remember much when Marilyn Monroe is in that movie as well too. So I guess there's even some older. Oh no, this is just old. Oh, so it's maybe if you like Cary Grant, you'll like Billy Wilder movies, I guess is the next thing. And I guess for some reason I thought an older Jack Lemmon looked like Cary Grant. Shout out Jack Lemmon. It is what it is. But yeah, Cary Grant, North by Northwest. I forget which movie it was on beforehand. Maybe it was Righteous Kill. Shout out Russell Gurewitz. It's like one of the best written movies of all time. But the next whatever action movie that premiered after that was North by Northwest. But apparently, I think it started. It was originally one of those movies that was on, again, in the autoplay just when I woke up. So I guess if you guys don't know by now, Tubi is just on all night. So it is what it is. I'm not saying we're not blasting Tubi all night. So I don't even know if we're just committing to the bit at this point, but I just love waking up and just seeing what's on Tubi or whatever movie is auto playing next. It is what it is. But that's just how we get our recommendations. Just like the fourth movie in the autoplay is the one that we'll watch. But it was North by Northwest. So whenever we must have stopped it and turned it off and, gone about the day, next thing. But when we went back and then it autoplayed whatever movie we finished playing, and then it autoplayed to North by Northwest, and then it picked back up from where we were at from that whatever night before it was. It picked back up into this scene where Cary Grant is on a train, and I forget the actress's name that he's, it's like a James Bond. They're like doing a back and forth. It really is kind of like, and I guess probably it's honestly, now I'm thinking about it, it's probably more James Bond and Vesper from Casino Royale are probably more imitating that scene more so than Cary Grant or imitating Daniel Craig. But again, in my film history, I saw Daniel Craig one first, so that's just how I associated it. But it picked back up in this train scene. In the dialogue and the back and forth in this train scene was so good that I was like, I just have to go back and rewatch this whole movie. So and then it was like, well, Cary Grant's just the man. So and then it was like, well, all of these Cary Grant movies are on Tubi. I guess we're just gonna go on a Cary Grant run. So Cary Grant, shout out. We got to pay legends to all eras of film. So Cary Grant is the last induction in the First Team All Tubi Hall of Fame. It is what it is. The First Team All Tubi Hall of Fame. That's what it's called. Oh, chat, I didn't even get to the name that we were going to potentially name it after. The one guy that's like the most maybe legendary Tubi guy of them all. Not even Tubi guy, but maybe a guy that's ascended above it, which is why I debated, do we induct him or do we just name it after him? But I'm almost thinking we could just call this thing, the Arnold, the Arnold Tubi Hall of Fame, because that is the perfect example for the type of movie that we are inducting, where that, and he did get some films where it's like, oh, there's some quality here to this film as well too, but those movies that get more in the fun to watch list than maybe the critical acclaim list, and again, the critical acclaim movies can sort of work their way back down into the fun to watch list as well too, where there's just kind of that cult classic following to whatever in general. But his movies are more, so mainstream, and his performances and his character is so mainstream that I almost feel like, but if we're inducting Jackie Chan, it feels like that's kind of an Arnold type induction as well too. And they would both kind of have the honorary Oscar type nomination. But Jackie Chan's a better actor than Arnold. I guess that's not necessarily the point. The point is more so about the movies themselves. But Arnold's another one we have to consider about debating. Arnold might be too popular. His movies might be too popular to get into this status. But then again, he does have the B tier. He does have a movie like The Running Man or something like that. I mean, there's so many names we could have put into the First Team All Tubi Hall of Fame. So here, let me actually write the list down so I can just see what it looks like and see if we approve. So this definitely, and I mean, when you can narrow it down to 7 people, we could have done a more mathematical, take a poll type way to figure this out. And maybe there is a different formula to get some different guys. Chat, I mean, I just looked at another name that we left off. I cannot believe we left some of these guys off. I honestly am like, do I flip Wesley Snipes out for this guy? We might have made a move there, chat. I don't know if we made a bad move. It is what it is. Cary Grant's getting off the list. Hey, yo. Shout out Cary Grant. Okay, wait. Who else do we have on here? Let's see. Whoopi Goldberg. We had Bassett. Oh, that's right. We did actually induct Madonna into the Hall of Fame. Shout out. Maybe that's another sort of one out of place name a little bit just in the overall IMDb. But we'll let body of evidence carry. There's a body of evidence that maybe Madonna shouldn't be in this list. But also, I think it's okay that she cracks the Hall of Fame. Pause. So 6, 7, and then the last one would have been, let me see. Oh, yeah, Cary Grant. Shout out. So the other honorable mention that I'm thinking, maybe we switch this out for Madonna. I don't know. Do we switch Omar Epps out for Madonna or Wesley Snipes? Because Omar Epps' filmography versus Wesley Snipes' filmography is not really a contest. And the case would be I guess, are his films a little too prestigious, but I don't think they really fall into that category as well, too, not in a disrespectful way. I just think that they just didn't quite get the critical acclaim love in the moment the same type of way, for whatever reason. But just the early Omar Epps run that he had in the 90s is just as unmatched as you'll get from everybody. You've got between Juice, Higher Learning, Love and Basketball, of course, is 2000. In Too Deep is another another classic movie. That's him and LL Cool J, right? Is LL Cool J in Too Deep? I think that is the other guy. I had that on in the background the other day. I think that was is it In Too Deep? Pause. I don't remember the 98 film. Here we go. 99? Yeah, LL Cool J and Neil Long is in this as well too. Yeah, shout out. So In Too Deep that's the number one recommendation of the night, chat. If you haven't seen In Too Deep with, again, Omar Epps, LL Cool J, and Neil Long, chat, Wesley Snipes. Wesley. Did we set the list in stone? Is Madonna gonna get bumped for Omar Epps? Because I think Omar Epps, we had to put him on over Martin Lawrence. Shout out Martin Lawrence. And the other guy, the other name I had on here, I almost don't even want to say because you're definitely going to say I should put him on the list. So I might just have to, just leave that for the future and let it be. But a legendary guy as well, too. Maybe his movies are too cult classic. What are the rules now at this point? But we're just going to have to take the L and just leave that off the list. And I'm just going to pretend like I forgot. But I'm looking at the name. So it is what it is. But, chat, Madonna's going to get replaced with Omar Epps, isn't she? Shout out Madonna. Hey, yo. Because Wesley Snipes, between the New Jack City... I guess the thing is, like we're saying, The White Men Can't Jump not necessarily being a movie that's around a ton. It's not like it gets a cable argument in a way. At least I just haven't been on TV at the right time, when White Men Can't Jump is playing. And I don't think it has the Pluto, Roku sort of free TV run as well, too. So as much as it's, hot take, the basketball movie is one of our favorite movies of all time. Like, that the accessibility of that movie outside of Pluto, like if you're just stumbling into that movie, it's not necessarily too crazy at this point in 2025. So you don't want to make this a snapshot of the moment as well too. But Wesley Snipes being off, I guess we just sit here and debate Omar Epps versus Wesley Snipes the whole time. Just know we shouted out Wesley Snipes and just know we really thought about it. But chat, how do we not pick Omar Epps at this point? The Wood, ayo. Pause. It is what it is. But yeah, did I say Major League 2? What else am I forgetting here, chat? Love and Basketball. I guess after that, it does kind of, from a rewatchability standpoint, get a little thin as well too. So Juice, Higher Learning. The thing is, Juice is so iconic. Is Juice more iconic than New Jack City? I guess becomes the debate. And then Blade as well too. Like Blade's another one, accessible. It's not super accessible, or maybe that'll be like an AMC Plus. Be like, what's this doing on this just random buried behind a paywall channel? I don't know. Maybe we give Wesley Snipes maybe Wesley Snipes is more current acting than Omar Epps. I don't know. Maybe Cary Grant's the one that should get replaced. But also, again, we have to kind of pay respects to everybody. So, R.I.P. Madonna, but Omar Epps is going into the Hall of Fame in the first round. It is what it is. He's got to. I would just be tossing and turning all night if I was like, I should have put Omar Epps on the list. As much as I just, you love the couple of Madonna movies that you love watching. It is what it is. Omar Epps has a little bit more of the stacked filmography. Don't be a menace to South Central and Juice while drinking your hood. I don't. What's the title of the movie? Chat. Ayo, pause. But yeah. So officially, we got Gene Hackman, Jackie Chan, Eddie Murphy, Wesley Snipes, Omar Epps, Cary Grant, Whoopi Goldberg, and Angela Bassett in the first ever Rem and Sam Tubi Hall of Fame. Do we leave it unofficial? We'll leave it kind of unofficial, I guess, for now. I don't know when will the official set in stone date will be, but that will be the list. Because if we get, if there's just like an obvious one that I'm missing, or I just changed my mind on something, then we need to give ourselves a day. But that's the initial voting process, I guess, for the Rem and Sam Tubi streaming service star Hall of Fame. Shout out to the first ever class, chat. It's a great honor. Your trophies will be in the mail. But speaking of trophies in the mail, we got the 1985 NBA Finals on in the background still, chat. Where are we even at in this game at this point? I don't know. We got game 4. We said we were going to try to go through game 4 and game 5. So let me see here. I don't know why our remote got disconnected. Oh, 84-80, but I think it's obviously the third quarter. We know the score of the final. We were just looking at it. It was 107-105. Again, we got game 4 on currently. So yeah, we got 12 seconds left in the third. Mikhail I did go back a couple seconds. 82-84, 35 seconds left in the third is where we're at now. I don't know why I went back when I just established where we were at, but regardless, I guess we're going to rewatch these last couple seconds. It is what it is. So, I mean, that's kind of perfect timing, honestly. When we get back, I guess we could watch the fourth quarter of this game 4 and then kind of go through the best moments, look at game 5, and see what happens there. So, yeah, let's take a quick break, and then we'll dig into the ninth. We probably spent too much time on the Tubi Hall of Fame compared to the 1985 finals, considering the importance of both of those things. But it is what it is. That happens in the Rem and Sam pod sometimes. And, we love Jackie Chan, so shout out. But, yeah, we'll take a quick break. Fourth quarter of Game 4 of the 1985 NBA Finals on in the background. And a little Game 5 after that as well, too. Don't go anywhere, chat. Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson right after this. Okay, chat, we're back. Time to resume the finals game that we have on the background again. Game 4 currently of the 1985 NBA Final. Fourth quarter underway, and then we'll see probably what the best quarter is there for Game 5 and go through that. Because that game wasn't as close with the start to finish. I think the Lakers, just looking at the line score for that, had a little bit of a better first half and kind of set the tone in that as well too. But as much as Bird was the MVP of the league this year, like we mentioned earlier from the graphic we saw on the screen, the Lakers themselves were, I think, the best team in the league. I don't know exactly how far. Oh, wait, I was thinking maybe the records of them next year. Did they go 67? 62 wins the next season, and then 65, and then was it 60? When did they win 67? There was a 60, or maybe 62 was there. Maybe I'm just thinking of the Thunder from this past year. Who won 67 games to 65 would have been their best. I mean, how many seasons in a row was that? 3 seasons in a row of 60-plus wins? And then, you know, all the 50-plus win seasons that you would imagine you'd just get in general with Magic. But that is crazy, chap. That's 3 seasons in a row of 60-plus wins. I mean, I guess that doesn't get talked about enough. You know, if we'd power rank things that don't get talked about enough. And they had won 58 games the 2 seasons before that, so pretty close to just a crazy 5-year run there. I mean, they already had it anyways with the titles that they won. So this year, 62 wins, 2 losses in the Western Conference playoffs, and then the fact that the Celtics themselves couldn't even get them to 7 games is probably pretty impressive. The Celtics this year were a better regular season team, 63-19. They did have a couple more losses in the playoffs. Again, Bird, you saw the percentages in the playoffs were a little bit lower than the regular season. So, I mean, I guess shows you maybe even more so the playoff dominance of the Lakers from this year as well. But 62 wins the next year as well in 85-86, and also just minimal playoff losses. And then in 60, what year is this, Chad? 86. In 86-87, they won 65 games. There it is. 65-17. And yeah, I guess just over the course of the Western Conference. So I know, you know, shout out Simmons, of course, in his Lakers hatred. He's talked about maybe the weakness of the Western Conference playoffs over this stretch. But still, they're not getting pushed by anybody. I mean, it goes hand in hand. But it's not like they're, for these couple of runs, even sort of underachieving as well, too. Like they are just very easily, you can see, taking care of business, at least in the way that the series turn out. You know, the individual games can be closer as well, too. But even the Celtics themselves, so I guess they did lose the Western Conference Finals to the Rockets, and maybe that's why this sort of 3-year run individually sort of gets looked at a little bit differently. So they go 4-2 with the Mavs in the Western semis. And, you know, Dirk wasn't there at that point, so I don't really know who their best player was pushing them against Kareem and Magic. You know, you imagine Dirk's the only solo superstar that could actually take down, you know, as many star players as possible, you know, at one time. Shout out Dirk. But I guess that's the secret to picking a fantasy basketball team, Chad, is just pick Dirk early on, because it doesn't matter. Just pick Dirk, and, you know, you really want to go this superstar and 5 random guys, it's Dirk, Chad. Hey, yo, shout out. But, and that's even from the Spurs fan, you know, talking. But, you know, they swept the Spurs this year 3-0. But, yeah, and then did we say the next season they had that 65 wins? So that's just that's crazy regular season dominance that I guess the Warriors had that in the, of course, the teens there with Durant, because they had 7. Did they get to 63 years in a row, though? No. Yeah, 58 that year. Oh, that even they won the finals in 17-18. Oh, so they did get to, they won 67 years the first year with Curry. Hey, yo, 67 is crazy. I was going to say, I remember now that they'd won 60 games, or, you know, maybe even like 58, but I didn't realize they were 67-15 that year. Holy cow. No wonder, you know, it's just so quickly Steph emerges MVP as well, too, with that kind of record. So, you know, that's even a better 3-year run as well, too. 67, 73, and 67 is pretty crazy. Here, I guess the obvious other one would be the MJ Bulls as well, too. You know, of course, he had two separate 3-year runs. But did he ever win 60 games 3 years in a row? No, I guess we're looking. That's modern times. I was like, oh, Jordan, not great in the regular season. Hey, yo, Chad, what's it, 41 and 41? But yeah, that's right now. So in the 90s Bulls, here we go. Yes, 72, 69, and 67, 62. So I'm going to say that the other one is still a little bit, still more, because they had 3 seasons of 67 or more. But yeah, those last 3 MJ seasons, I guess, 60 plus wins in each of those seasons, and they went 61, 66, and 57 in the first 3 title years. So, oh, wait a second, the Russell Celtics. I would say this. I guess the Bird Celtics as well too, since we're in the 80s watching the 85 finals, and I guess we have to remember this is the 4th quarter as well. We should actually look up and watch the game. So the Birds, okay, they did. Oh, they almost did it. They actually were the closest to 4 seasons in a row with 59 in 86, 87. They went 62, 63, 67, and then 59. 61, 62, and 63 at the beginning of the 80s. So they almost, whoa, chat. They almost won 60 games in the regular season, 7 out of 8 seasons. But they had a 56 and a 59 in there. That kind of broke it up. So that's pretty crazy. But in the 60s with Bill Russell, I don't know what the games played was back then as well, too. I guess all still pretty similar. But they were not quite able to get there as well. Maybe that's got to be a credit to something in modern day. As much as they were, the most dominant team in the league, it's like, hey, in the playoffs, they were leveling up a little bit as well, too. But they were really close. I mean, 60, 58, 59, and then 62. And then 60 as well in there. 62, then 54, then 60. So in between the 62 and 60, there's a 54-win season. But not able to, just consistently every year have quite that regular season dominance as the other team. So Bill Russell overrated, chat. 60 Celtics, not as good as they talk about. But, hey, we're going to get canceled just for even making the jokes. But, well-deserved. But, so, this Lakers run, I guess, is the second best regular season run, or that Bull. So third, Warriors, Bulls, and then Lakers as well. The Warriors, Bulls, Lakers. Do we double check the Shaq Kobe Lakers real quick? And I guess we're just leaving our Spurs teams out of the conversation, but we didn't get 60 wins 3 years in a row, unless it was in it wouldn't have been in the years that we won the titles. I would say. And the Lakers would have had a lockout season they were dealing with. They didn't win the title that year. The Spurs won the title that year, but still. They won 67 games that first year with Shaq, but then 56 and 58 the years. The first year they won the finals, I should say, with Shaq. 61 wins the first year he was there, or did he get there in 96, 97 when they won 56 games? Or maybe, no, because he was like 3 or 4 seasons there in Orlando. So let's see. We got to give our Spurs some respect here. Our best 3-year stretch for the franchise from regular season standpoint. Oh, okay. We did get 2 seasons in a row at 67 and 61, 15 and 16. So with Kawhi, hey, yo, Chad, the Kawhi years we blank out of our memory. It is what it is. But and 62 and 13, 14. So the team changed over definitely there. So I don't know if you could say, I guess kind of the Celtics having the run as well, too. Like, their franchise definitely, again, had the success. Not necessarily the same team. 61 wins in 2010, 2011. But, again, it didn't really, I guess, 13, 14, we were just going crazy that year. But we were more focused on the playoffs anyways. The regular season win total, really, I guess, us setting the record would have been cool, but also we had old guys, so at some point it would have been like, hey, we're actually trying to win. We're trying to get this Miami. The fans would actually, this might have been the one team in NBA history that the fans would have been like, no, we're not allowing it. And again, the way I had to go back and look at the load management throughout that season and see what it was like. I'm sure there's a way that it got to 62 wins, and we weren't quite the team to win 73 games in the regular season as well, too, even though we were dominant in the finals. But, Bird on the 3-point block? Hey, yo, chat. The Lakers have pulled away a little bit. It's 92 to 85 in the fourth quarter at this point as well. We should actually watch the play, too, because, the style of play in this is going to be a little bit different. We were rewatching the 95 finals, of course, with Hakeem and Shaq, and the way both of those offenses were oriented around those guys with sort of some spacing around the modern bigs. Like, you're seeing, modern elements of 2025 basketball in the way those teams are starting to be constructed. And in this one, you're still getting kind of, you don't want to say a hodgepodge, because I guess there is still strategy. Like, you got double bigs, and you still running offenses, and the Celtics and Magic, and there's still great vision, all different stuff. But the focus on 3-point shooting, it's definitely more defense and cutting and getting to the basket at this point than it is, even like we're saying, in the 95 season, even more so with those teams specifically. But like we were saying then, even the Bulls had 3-point shooting elements they were adding into the teams as well too for their finals run. So you're seeing it, even if it's not dominating the league in the same type of way. But again, I guess the point being, in 85, you're just not even really seeing it. Like, people aren't really even looking at the 3-point line. Like, Bird is, I guess we could look at the numbers and see what the most, I'm sure maybe somebody was taking 6 a game if they were getting really, like, we're really giving them the benefit of the doubt at that point. I wouldn't be surprised if the league leader was taking 3 a game in 1985. Again, it's just really not that focused. It would be like, okay, this is my one way to make it in the league, and I have to just be as good at this as possible. But otherwise, maybe this, like, I guess the one comparable thing would be, because like we were saying, that 1995 series, the Rockets are a little bit of a smaller team around Hakeem as well too, a little bit more point guard, 2-guard focused in a way with some of the positions, versus on these teams you do have a lot of wings and a lot of bigs and just a lot of size in this court. So while they're not necessarily operating from the same spots that we are in 2025, it is aesthetically, a little bit there as well too. The multiple center stuff is a little crazy, because even the 2 bigs now, like a lot of the guys that are sort of, again, the quote unquote big men, or like the Wembanyama, Evan Mobley, Chet Holmgren types, where there's these like skinny, sort of lanky 7-footers who are just, again, the double big situation for the Celtics, of course, we're talking Parrish and McHale. And for the Lakers, even, we've got Kareem, obviously, as the main center, and they've got a little bit more wings. Like, you kind of do have Magic playing a pseudo 4 in a way, and then being a point guard, but you do also have James Worthy being a forward out there as well too. And you do have Bob McAdoo off the bench. So if you run your Bob McAdoo Kareem lineup, that's definitely a 2-big lineup that's a little bit different. I mean, Bob McAdoo's a little bit of a modern player as well too. And I mean, Kareem and Perry, like, anybody could be good in modern times. But we don't see necessarily the 2, like, I guess the Denver Nuggets might be the one team that actually could do this year, where they have, and maybe they have been a little bit, even though Aaron Gordon's a little bit more of a wing than he is like a center. But if they actually run Valanciunas and Jokic out there at the same time, like, that's old school, double big type situation. That's 2 centers. And Jokic is, of course, a great floor spacer, and even Valanciunas as well too can step out and knock down a 3 at times. But both those guys can be in the paint, post-present, dominant 7-footer, attack the mismatch type situation. Maybe you could get a little bit of it, or, as well too, the bigs, maybe the bigs that could be that type of dominant guys just aren't as well. Like, Towns maybe could be a little bit, I don't know if he's Robert Parrish, but, he's a little bit more built than some of those other bigs. And a guy like, who was the other name that I just had in my mind as well too, as I was saying that? I was thinking Bam a little bit for Bob McAdoo, as like, what if Bam had just, crazier, and, maybe there's other comparisons as well. But if Bam just had better handles, I guess if Bob McAdoo did he have the defense? It's not really the same comparison in terms of the play style, but different. Durant's play style and Bam's body type, I don't know. Bob McAdoo is taller than Bam, though. Bam's like more of like a 6'8", 6'9", than I think Bob McAdoo is more like a 6'10", 7-footer type guy. So, DeRozan in Bam's body with Durant's height. I don't know what the Bob McAdoo DeRozan comps. Okay, we just don't know anything about history, chat. It is what it is. But I don't even know where we were off on Bob McAdoo, the double bigs. There was another name that I had that was like, who? Oh, Porzingis was another one who, in the finals against the Mavs, he did attack the matchups and was deadly, killing the smaller players in that pause. But he is more a perimeter oriented guy, and even in that, it was like, I'm setting myself up for jump shot type situations more so than like even getting into, say, like you don't really see Porzingis with like a hook shot or like maybe like a drop step type situation. Like, he's just gonna kind of fade away into his he wants to set himself up for a jump shot in some type of way. So that's a little bit more, again, new school. Or like we're saying, into the 90s, maybe you get that guy who's a little bit more, is that the European, the soft big man pause, where it's like, okay, he's going to be maybe play making some perimeter game, but where's the defense? And that, but Porzingis, again, Towns can be a defensive guy as well, too, if he needs to be. But Gobert can kind of almost fall into sort of the Wemby, Chet, sort of lean big man type aesthetic as well. But he does play the game with a little more old school sort of way. The defensive focus, can't hit his free throws. I guess I didn't have to look up his free throw percentage. I think he's in the 70s. He's probably doing okay. But we got a 1-point game with 7 minutes left. So we got to lock in here. And, the reason I was mentioning Parrish as well, too, because, as you'd imagine, they were starting a lot of their fourth quarter stuff there with the dump down into Robert Parrish as well. And I guess we should lock in on how Larry Bird is playing in this day and age, because to be honest, again, like Magic, you would change up maybe the play style of his teammates around him with some of the spacing and the way that could affect his game, but him operating from sort of the top of the key and attacking downhill, is still stuff that you could project in 2025. So again, you're projecting more the teammates around him. And even if you're not giving Magic a 3-point perimeter type game, although, Magic Johnson's Ben Simmons or something, there's still like a projectable, type game. Not Ben Simmons, but, there's a projectable, obviously, way that Magic Johnson is still Magic Johnson in 2025 with a modern aesthetic, but still keeping the old school type way. And again, same with Bird. But I think Bird would have been an interesting guy for how the offense sets him up in 2025. Because I guess that's the thing as well, too, is Bird, much to his credit, would still oftentimes be set up by the offense, where you're letting it just kind of watching what they're operating with. So I guess, we're just making sweeping statements out of a couple minutes we're seeing here out of 1984. But it's like, you're still letting Ainge, and you have Dennis Johnson. Like, there was still always a good guard at some point. And, again, Ainge and Johnson specifically for a lot of the run, but also here in this 85 game as well. Those guys to kind of handle the offense, and some defensive presences with those guys as well, too. Definitely good off-ball scorers, can play off a Bird. But would let, and to use Bird, running him off of screens and stuff like that, you're not just like, okay, let's let Ainge cook here as well. It's like we need to get Bird off the ball in the way that we're running the offense and how we're trying to set him up. But again, the off-ball stuff, I guess, is the stuff that I'm curious here to lock in and see maybe how they used him on, because those type of plays would have been different in 2025, and maybe even non-existent in 2025. Like, if we're really being strict, or I guess facetious, is that the right way to say it? I don't know, maybe it's not even facetious. I don't know if we're using that word correctly here. But if we're just looking at a very obvious, style of play that is used in 2025, like Bird in sort of that heliocentric offense. So again, teams can, and maybe it's just that is a play style that, again, is becoming more prominent and players are gravitating toward it more so than coaches are like, this is how we're running offenses in 2025. Because you still get teams with guys like Jokic, and the ball movement and the playmaking and stuff can still be reflective, of the lead players, or Curry or something like that, can still be reflective of those lead guys with that type of movement. But like we've talked about with Tatum, where Tatum can Tatum can be a guy that can play off of a great guard and you're setting Tatum up off the ball. He's a scoring forward. You're not necessarily using him as a lead playmaker in a sense, but with the way we've seen him develop his game, like that's kind of where he's gone. And there has been, I guess, there's been a degree to Tatum. There's been an ISO degree to his game in a way. But again, it's more ISO as a scorer. But now he can sort of be almost a heliocentric type guy. And that's, I guess I don't want to, be inconsistent with the talk. It's almost, again, a credit to how he's developed his game. I guess the playmaking has gotten to that level. If, it becomes a hurt in his play style, then, you got to just watch and evaluate with what you see. But again, with the way his playmaking has evolved and with the responsibilities of the offense, like he can get into that type stuff. So you get to the end of game scenarios where, Bird takes over, and I'm sure, you just got to let your star players be your star players, and your best players, players make plays. Hey, yo. But that would be, I think, a way that he's used more in 2025, especially as a wing, as well, too, and as a guy that could be, that lead creator in that type of way. Because again, you just don't really see the wing lead guy be sort of an off-ball guy anymore. So now that's like a real, like, the younger, it depends on what we're talking about for 2025 as well too. Like, are we talking about the guy that's sort of at the peak of his powers, entering his 30, like a guy like Devin Booker, who again definitely could be used off the ball, but a guy like, who's the Devin Booker for the 2020? I guess Con Knuppel or somebody like that. But again, Dylan Harper, there's like a kind of on the ball thing that he's got going. Scoot Henderson is kind of on the ball, point guard focused type guy. Amen Thompson, if you're a lead guy on a team, there's like almost a lead creator, not mentality, but just play style. A guy like Jaden Ivey is a guy that is not necessarily a guy that we're thinking is I'm Collinsworth over here. Here's Jaden Ivey's a guy but we don't necessarily think he's going to be the best player on the Pistons, but he's not necessarily a point guard as well too. Or, I think he could definitely develop into an off-ball scorer as well off of Cade, and maybe Cade's malleability helps that as well too. But is not necessarily point guard, or like a play off the ball, Devin Booker gets set up, and not just like, I'm going to run off screens and shoot off this screen, but like use the offense to set me up. It's and again, maybe this is some coaching stuff as well too. In 2025, a little bit of it goes hand in hand, but with the way the players play, it's Ivy's going to take his turn to get a pick and roll from the wing when Cade drives in and kicks it back out, or maybe there will be a cut, but it's not really, again, the off-ball screening in the same traditional way. It's a screen for like a real direct cut, or like more like a one screen type. Maybe the multiple off-ball screens is what I'm thinking of. It's sort of a one screen and cut, or just cut off of the drive type of situation, offense ever running. Or again, it's just kick it back out and rescreen and let the guy kind of operate one-on-one. So that goes again to the individual playmaking that we have now as well too. But again, you don't necessarily look at the 84 finals to say, I guess to bring this back to Bird in some kind of random twisted way, to say that maybe the Celtics team around him didn't have a lack of individual creators. Like Parrish, could create for himself. McHale definitely could create for himself. The Dennis Johnson Ainge tier of guys, like a little Dennis Johnson versus Norman Powell. Like Dennis Johnson's a Finals MVP, right? Or again, is in the finals with the Sonics. I don't remember if exactly he won the Finals MVP that year, but was one of the best players in that team as well too, as that was kind of a more so a team effort in general, but proved he could get to a little bit of a extra level offensively, creating, not even just in a Norm Powell type of way. So wait a second, do we have Finals MVP here on this list? No, we just have League MVP. So let's see. Sonics, what year did they win? 78, 79? Was it Dennis Johnson that won this Finals? I think it was. Was it maybe Gus Williams? But 78, 79. So yeah, it was. I mean, Dennis Johnson again, Finals MVP. So the highest level of Norm Powell that you can get. Norm Powell with even better defense. So it's not like he had that lack of ability around him, but it's just kind of how the offenses function. So in some ways, for better or worse as well too, because you have more ball movement but less spacing, so it's crowded and it's not as effective and it's not generating as many points, and it's a little bit slower as well too, and there's just a little bit of a clunkiness to it that can happen because of that. But again, we got smoothness and spacing and individual creativity, but we don't really have any movement in 2025. So it's a give and take really of what you want to watch for basketball. I guess, I don't know if we'll ever get a version of it where we put all the pieces together. It's like, here's the beautiful game. And I guess just in some ways that was this last finals too. We can't just like overlook that. I don't know if that is now we're back into the star power conversation, that we're not bringing that back up right away. But that's what was so fun about this finals, was it was a sort of a great balanced series in the style of basketball that we got played. It did, I think, unfortunately, of course, get neutralized a little bit at the end with the way Game 7 played out with the injuries. But I guess, the roundabout way of saying is I think Larry Bird would have been one of the more unique. How does his game change in a weird type of way? Because in some ways he feels like again, just his playmaking, his versatility. He's just gonna be on any team and find a way and get his spots and move around. But I guess it is just the way that he moves around is the thing that you could see a lot different. Or because even a guy like Worthy as well too, or like Kareem, or like are Parrish and McHale playing together in 2025? With the spacing, who knows? If they have really good 3-point shooting around it. I'm sure it works, hot take. But also all those guys, again, with spacing, could still do their post thing as well too. Or they're just doing their post thing. It's like Embiid a little bit, where Embiid did, he had the mix at the peak of his powers for sure, where it's like the post game with he's at the top of the key, hitting that jump shot and the 3-pointer as well too. It's like, okay, Robert Parrish with a 3-pointer. I know, is that hot take? Embiid, Robert Parrish with a 3-pointer? I don't think that's too crazy. Embiid's a little bit better as a lead guy, I think, than Robert Parrish. Embiid on the 84 Celtics. Are the 84 Celtics worse off? I don't know, Chad. That's kind of an interesting all-time swap in a way. And I guess I didn't know we were going to be doing this segment for the 84 Finals rewatch here, but we've got this 1984 IMDb commercial. And now we're pivoting into a pre Belmont Stakes. What's the name of this race? The Preakness, I think, is the one. Yeah, but the Belmont Stakes is the ad for CBS Sports. So, 1 point lead for the Lakers. 2:17 left in the fourth quarter. But yeah, and because Embiid, again, you have, I think, higher expectations for a guy like Parrish. So maybe, I think McHale would be the more interesting with the way the careers played out in Boston. McHale would be the more interesting swap for Embiid. He had more, points. I think a little bit more individual success than Parrish. Didn't have the run outside of the Celtics, where again Parrish had the early years where you could look back and go, this is what it looked like, not in Boston. And I mean, there are definitely valid, I'm sure, things for that. But again, you got McHale at 26 a game. I guess 2 seasons after this, in 86, 87, and 4th in MVP voting, 13th in MVP voting the year after the one we're watching right now, in 85, 86 as well. But I guess we got to give Embiid some credit. Like, Embiid would be dominant in this series. Like, come on, what are we talking about? And it's not even just put modern, look how corny these old players are. Just stylistically, he's really, really great. I mean, him moving around versus Kareem could be an interesting thing. Like, again, with the two bigs, you would almost kind of need that for Kareem in a way. Like, we're kind of seeing that with Jokic, where it's like, how do we counter Jokic in the Western Conference with some of these centers? I don't know if that's what Minnesota was looking with Towns and Gobert before they traded Towns, and even then they still brought back a good front court player as well too. They were still trying to think along the terms of the the size of the team, but the way they needed to guard Kareem in this series, where he's going to be around the basket and that post up stuff, and you could kind of swarm him with the double bigs. Like, it's been tough for him to operate here in this game. I've seen him get to the free throw line a couple times for sure, and that's definitely going to help his numbers and efficiency and make the game look a little bit easier in a way, I guess, than it was. But again, he's working for all his points. I'm not necessarily looking at his final box score here as well too to see if that's true, but again, he has, just watching here, but yeah, 7 for 8, so he's been to the free throw line quite a few times here. You wouldn't be shocked. This will be free throw attempt number 9. You wouldn't be shocked if he necessarily got to, so he missed. There we go, 7 for 9. That's still pretty good percentage, but even if he got another attempt here in the last 90 seconds or so, wouldn't be the most crazy thing in the world. So we got Bird in the little post up on the mid kind of wing block area, and then up pass into the post as well too. So that's even just take 2 steps out, you're still in the mid range, but just as the game gets spaced out to 3, like everything gets spaced out 2 steps. So now even the mid range, and then if you're at the mid range, you get to the point where it's like, oh well, now you can just step out for the 3 at that point. But even just looking to create and get the pass into the interior, now you're stepped out even a little bit farther, a little bit more space. Like, just space everywhere for people to operate. So, Mikhail, shout out, of course, been a stud, getting to the free throw line as well, too. Magic is, I don't think maybe in this game he was really good in scoring. I think maybe game 5 he's not like he's not putting up 20 and 30 in the finals. I think maybe his scoring gets a little bit more higher number in the next couple of playoff series, but still, this is like full Magic Johnson. Just pause. Hey, whoa. Hey, yo. That's crazy. But this is just, that peak of the powers, Magic with the creating and the scoring, where it's his box scores. He's put up like 18 and 18. It's like, what is happening here? Magic Johnson, just crazy numbers. Really, okay, I get, again, the scoring thing was never going to be the comparable thing in all-time history, but he's just generating so many points on offense that it doesn't even matter. And he is a guy that could score as well, too. I think the problem for Magic is he doesn't necessarily have a definable, like, visual scoring style like some of the guys do. Like, not even just a definable shot as well. Because, like, Bird, like, I guess he has a definable form in a way. You wouldn't say he has a go-to move in the same way that Kareem does from, like, an all-time status. Like, he might have had a little move where it's like, okay, yeah, like, if you know, this is Bird's move. But the way the legacy of, Kareem's skyhook, MJ's, the MJ, Kobe posting fadeaway type stuff, MJ from later in his career, the Dirk fadeaway with Durant taking that on as well, too. But even, a guy like Curry, a guy like Kyrie, where there's just kind of a definability to Kyrie's game with the handle and the ability to break down a guy one-on-one. Of course, Curry's three-point shooting ability, or, LeBron as well. I mean, LeBron, as time has gone on, has definitely developed some go-to moves. He has the iconic sort of delayed three-pointer that is more a kind of a bit almost than it is like a move necessarily. But then some of his post-up stuff as well, too, has definitely gotten, really elite with the fadeaways as well, too. But I wouldn't say you define it by that, but just him sort of attacking downhill and whatever version he's been has always been sort of a definably unstoppable thing, whether or not it's like him being a crazy athlete just jumping over everybody, or when he got to the muscular phase and he's just, just plowing through and nobody can kind of stay in front of him, and it's almost, like Simmons has said, Karl Malone driving to the rim. Hey, pause. Whoa. That's another crazy one. I don't know what's crazier, chat. We'll do a poll. What's a crazier statement? Full Magic Johnson or Karl Malone driving to the rim? Hey, yo. That one might be almost too crazy. But, yeah, I don't even know what we were talking about before that. But, yeah, he is that definable, again, just attacker to the basket in that type of way, where Magic just doesn't necessarily you can't necessarily visualize him scoring. He's kind of a quirky, put up floaters. Like, he did have, again, with just his physical capabilities, it was his ability to attack and get to the basket as well, too. And a little mid-range jump shot, had kind of a funky form that is, in 2K, kind of a definable jump shot graphic as well, too. But just in the looks that he was getting to, it's like the Magic Johnson looks are not necessarily the thing that stand out from his game. So it's just the all-time stuff. I think he gets left off a little bit offensively because of that in a weird way. But again, he's just generating as many points as any of these guys. Like, I don't know if that's, I'm sure StatHead has that as well. Basketball Reference might even have that as a stat, but I don't know if we can spend time just diving through the pages looking for that. But most points generated in NBA history, like, I'm assuming at this point, again, LeBron's got the scoring record, the assisting stuff. It's got to be LeBron. But Magic has got to be up there as well, too. Most points responsible for, let's see if StatMuse will let us look at some of these here. So that's LeBron. Is this assists or assisting points? Because we've got, and I don't know, Magic is not listed on here at all. So I'm assuming he would, got to enough points. He should be listed on here. Something's a little phony with this StatMuse sorting. I don't know. So points responsible for here. Let's just take a quick look at the leaders. I guess wouldn't hurt, because they may have that. I'm not sure. They definitely should if they don't. Stathead, add that in. Basketball Reference. Update the page. Just most points responsible for in NBA history, Hall of Fame, game score. Most franchises played for. We got some records, individual records. Okay, I don't know if we're necessarily going to be able to track that down. But regardless, again, you don't need us to validate Magic Johnson's career over here. It holds up as pretty legit. So shout out. 30 seconds, chat. Hey, yo. Maybe we actually end up watching some of the game. Magic creating. I guess maybe it's just him sort of that backing, that slow kind of backing down style that he had. Where, again, LeBron just kind of the full power that he would use, just attacking it, the full speed start it felt like he would like to get from the top of the key. Where Magic, it was never him, I guess never him always operating at full speed, like great in transition. But in the half court, it was never back up and then just let me drive into the lane. It was sort of that methodical, semi sort of post up, work his way back into the lane type of ordeal. So maybe that is something that honestly, again, changes with time as well too. Is you get more of a slashing type of Magic Johnson, because I guess when you do hear of those comps, anytime a guy like we were throwing out Ben Simmons earlier, I think that's kind of one of the iconic comp names, however you want to say it. I mean, it is what it is. Magic is one of those guys. There's just not going to be a lot of guys comp to him. He's a unique player in the fact that just that 6'9" player with that type of vision, like you can't be, again, even like a 6'5", 6'4" type 2 guard with that type of vision. There's just going to be a more comparable guy. You have to be an almost forward, almost a 4, again, in modern times, like a 3, mostly 4 type player who could play as a point guard in modern times. I mean, there's buzzer beaters right here. We're missing it, chat. Dennis Johnson just hitting buzzers at 3 to win the game, and we're just sitting here like it's nothing. It's just iconic moments in NBA history. I guess the problem is, of course, the Celtics don't win the finals here, but still an iconic close. Okay, we got to go back and at least watch the last play, right? I assume that would be the correct thing to do when we're rewatching the 1985 NBA Finals. If we're gonna rewatch one play from Game 4, it should probably be the buzzer beater that our guy Dennis Johnson hits, lock it in. So it's a tied scenario, 105, 19 seconds left. Celtics inbounding off of like a scoring situation, not off a timeout, but from the opposite baseline. So Dennis Johnson brings it up. They start initiating with basically no time left on the clock, and it goes Bird into like the elbow free throw range, a little mid-range toss to Bird, and they just immediately converge, double on Bird. Johnson just takes like 2 steps to his left, Bird down to on the right side of the free throw line, if we're looking straight on at the basket. So Dennis Johnson just takes like 2 steps to the left, and Bird just a little pass back out to him, little mid-range shot. I guess I said he hit a 3-pointer, but little outside jumper. In modern times, again, that guy's stepping back out for 3. So it's just a 3-pointer synonymous with outside jumper, I guess, in 2025, because it's the same thing. You don't take a mid-range, but that little outside mid-range jumper, it's a win. I guess in a tied ball game, it doesn't even matter if it's a 3 or a 2. You just need points in a buzzer beater situation to close it out. So shout out to Game 4. I guess we said we could check out the first quarter of Game 5 and see what we get here. I don't know if the quickest way to go back through the series is to look at the playoff stats. Here we go for Kevin McHale. So Game 5 is 120 to 111 for the Lakers. Boston closed it a little bit in the fourth, 30 to 25. So LA, they win the first quarter 35 to 31, and in the second quarter 29 to 20. So they are up by 13 points going into the halftime, and are kind of able to maintain throughout the game. So throughout that second half. So let me see if Game 5 is a quick search away. Yes, sir. It should be right here, easy to watch. I mean, shout out, not enough views on the rewatches for these games. It is what it is, but shout out to the real ones that take time to upload these. So we got, the broadcast crew chat running it back. It is what it is. Exciting times. Shout out. Not quite the same pre-game production. They don't have all the pieces and stuff yet, but I wonder when did that get introduced? When did we get like the first montage graphic in the NBA? Because I guess we're still kind of tape delaying a little bit in the beginning of the 80s. I don't know if by 84 that's totally changed. Maybe most of that, maybe the Magic Bird impact is really felt in the TV stuff kind of after their careers as well too. But I imagine still Jordan's in this draft, this from this past summer. So this would be the rookie Jordan year. This would be the rookie, that 84 class would be their rookie season. So you're gonna have that bump in the league in a couple of seasons here. Right away, the next seasons are a couple with MJ for sure. But again, the montage-y, graphic-y, super crazy production stuff. When did that start? We'll have to just watch, I guess, every NBA Finals game throughout NBA history and see when that happened. And maybe it kind of, pause, comes and goes. Maybe they have a montage. I guess how early can you even have the montage? You can have a montage of the season, though, or the playoffs, and be like, all these guys, fought to get to this moment. It is what it is, blah, 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 blah. But in terms of the NBA history, this is where legacies are built, kind of in the way they do it now. You need, of course, a little bit of time to accumulate that kind of stuff. So now it's appropriate that they're working that in. But even in the 90s, you could have still started to have some of that stuff as well. But yeah, this is, I guess, the stats for Game 5. So to go back through Game 4 here, we had, McHale with 28 and Dennis Johnson with 27. Bird did get to 26. So 8 of 16 from the field, 50%, still really good. But 10 to 12 from the free throw line was big for him. 11 rebounds, 5 assists. 12 assists for Dennis Johnson. 27, 12, and 7 for our guy DJ. I mean, he's balling out in this game. And then Magic was 20, 11, and 12, just casually. Worthy at 16. And Kareem at 21. So, 7 for 12. Again, getting to the free throw line really did work. McAdoo was one of the shots leaders on this team. 5 for 17. Was McAdoo the reason this game, the Celtics won this game? Who knows? Let's see, the McAdoo minutes for Game 5. Where did they go down to? It is what it is. 50, 0 for 5. Okay, so they just kind of held back on some of the shots. Not necessarily a crazy different performance. I mean, 5 missed shots versus 7 missed shots. It's honestly pretty close, and it's, tougher that he didn't make any compared to making at least 5 in the last one. But still, not too far off overall from the performance just in general. But 15 minutes compared to whatever he had in the last game. But you had 36 from Kareem in this Game 5. And 26 and 17 for Magic. So, I mean, the scoring is at 17. It's just him and Kareem just going crazy. And Worthy with 33 as well. So, that Lakers trio, in all-time performances from them. And still really good balance from this Celtics core of guys as well, too. I mean, heavy minutes from the star players for both teams. But you'd kind of expect that either way. Even with, quote-unquote deep teams, the rosters are going to shorten in some way. The Celtics are just like, we're not even going to, risk it with the other guys, though. Cedric Maxwell at 5 minutes. Scott Wedman, 19 minutes in this game. Hey, yo. They just had to give Danny Ainge, Larry Bird, just a quick break. Was there some 3 fouls? So really just, if you got into a little foul trouble, you had to take a break. Except for Dennis Johnson, who, 6 turnovers. But I guess he also, did we say 17 assists for him as well, too? Him and Magic, just going toe-to-toe. Game score for Magic, 29.7. Game score for Dennis Johnson, 18.3, so I guess that's the rebounding difference. And Magic had a couple steals in there as well, too. Less turnovers, so... two turnovers compared to Dennis Johnson's, what do you have? 6? Well, a little bit of a different performance. Shout out, a little more fit. Just a little bit, better all the way around. It is what it is, and that's how they get the last 2 games. And I guess, I don't know, the refs step in if we really watch these last two games. See what happens. But Cooper as well, too. 4 for 7, 10 points. You imagine his defensive impact really helps. And, of course, his notoriety for the way he was able to play defense on Larry Bird as well, too. So, top of the key, is that worthy? Oh, and Kurt Rambis? Is that who's in this game? How many minutes did Kurt Rambis log? Shout out. 27 minutes in the starting lineup. So, yeah, Michael Cooper probably going to get some of those minutes more at the end of the game. And then Byron Scott, that's the Lakers' death lineup, I guess, back in the day, is we're bringing in Byron Scott and Michael Cooper off the bench to replace Byron Scott's already in. So, yeah, Michael Cooper is the Iguodala, and Kurt Rambis is the Harrison Barnes, the Festus Ezeli of this team, or the Bogut. I don't know, Kurt Rambis, early Bogut. I don't know if that's necessarily the correct comp. Maybe that's more, Bogut's versatility as well, too, on display. Magic pushing the pace. And that time it's like, okay, maybe there's a lot of moments as well, too. Not a discredit to Magic thing. Not saying he's necessarily assist hunting, but just from the scoring aspect of things, like he definitely could have taken that to the hole right there. Taken that to the basket and just completed that transition layup. So I don't know if the defenses were like less aggressive in guarding the basket in these transitions, because they're like, okay, Magic not going to take a shot there, but also that lane seemed pretty like he could have just taken one more dribble and just swooped right in and gotten that layup. But maybe that's the aggressiveness of modern day as well, too. That would kind of help that out. And it didn't seem like the pass was even the right move there. We're not going to over-exaggerate one Magic move from the first quarter. But just to make a sweeping generalization, it's like, okay, if he's getting 17 assists, there is probably a couple of times where he's like maybe making an easy pass there. But also, putting up to 26, I mean, it's Magic as well, too. Again, we don't need to doubt what he was doing. On the other hand, Bird, just a little hook shot right over the top of Kareem. No big deal. And the quickness, of course, at which he's able to dial in a shot over that type of player as well, too. Where, I mean, sometimes that's your window as well. So you get stuck with the taller guy. Bird's not crazy. He's not the guard with Kareem guarding him, where it's crazy mismatched. But sometimes you kind of get stuck with that bigger player guarding you, and then you get no way out. But also that quick move where you just like, oh, wait a second, there's a tall guy right here, and I can't dial this in the same type of way. But it's Bird, obviously, just easy money that close to the basket. Ainge in transition. So the speed of this first quarter is much different a little bit. Byron Scott right away, was that a 3 or a long 2? But the outside jump shot from the wing is good. So they go into Parrish. Is that Parrish with a travel? Oh, Robert Parrish. The offensive turnover, Kareem on defense. I don't know, making him nervous. But that is actually kind of a slow the game down moment. Now we have to kind of inbound and reset, and the defense is back in the half court as well, too. The Lakers can actually run a play. Again, it was kind of fast transition stuff there for a second. Magic Johnson, the player going under the screen, pulling up for the mid-range. So if that's a three-pointer, Magic Johnson, the scoring numbers, they go pretty crazy. Dennis Johnson, the little mid-range jumper, easy money. And, these guys might have been better contested shot makers back in the day as well, too. Like I say, maybe players are better at creating space. Maybe that is just the better thing in general. Who knows? I don't know if they are necessarily better creating space. Maybe more of them are. But still, the ability to just be like, I'm just going to take this jumper. This guy's just standing right there. It don't matter. I just need a little dribble, pull up, get into the rhythm. I got this shot. Oh! Byron Scott, the transition block on Kevin McHale. And then the defense by Dennis Johnson gets the steal on Magic. It's a little, I was going to say Johnson on Johnson, but, that's a pause for sure. So, his defense was, I don't know if you could say it was Michael Cooper to Larry Bird. He doesn't get the same sort of credit. Again, Magic is the legendary guy. As much as it's like Bird is still the top 5 guy, whatever, in NBA history, Michael Cooper does get that sort of, he was the guy. Larry Bird's shadow, I guess I don't know if that's a nickname that we go by in 2025, but I think the concept of the nickname, of course, was just he's following him everywhere on defense and attached to Larry Bird in a way where Larry Bird just can't get away from the fact that Michael Cooper plays such great, defense on a great offensive player like Larry Bird. But, how many guys have actually kind of had that label as well, too, is pretty impressive. Again, with the flip side of it being the player, their greatness is also the thing that is elevated as well, too, at the same time. It's pretty rare. But Dennis Johnson even had the offensive thing over Michael Cooper. So I don't know if it's like is it Lakers fans, Michael Cooper propaganda, but it's all, everybody who doesn't love Michael Cooper? Who wouldn't love him on their team? Again, he just contributes in so many ways. So Dennis Johnson, maybe not quite the defender as well too, but pretty close, and with the offensive game to make up for it, like we're saying. But worthy on the rebound. I mean, all these guys would have been fun to see in modern time. We need AI basketball as soon as possible. The Rem Sam AI NBA League will go crazy. The all-time matchups will do a good job of curating the players and the teams and who to watch here, for when that stuff emerges. Maybe we need some investors as well, too. If you want to fund the Rem and Sam AI Basketball League, just, DM us at Rem and Sam on Instagram. And we'll talk about some business opportunities. We've got some... We'll cook up an elevator pitch for the AI Basketball League. You know what the elevator pitch is? It's an AI Basketball League. It's legendary matchups. Maybe we need to clean it up a little bit at that. Maybe we'll go to AI. Hey, AI, make us a pitch for the AI Basketball League. Hey, yo. I don't know, is that Inception? Is Killian Murphy just... Or, Joseph Gordon-Levitt just deep inside an AI machine? Whoa, ayo. So that's a third one, chat. What's on the poll? We got Full Johnson, Karl Malone driving to the rim, or Joseph Gordon-Levitt deep inside an AI machine. But if he's, just inside just the brain of an AI machine, just implanting memories and dreams and just controlling what it is. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's controlling all of AI and all of culture right now because of AI Inception. It is what it is. But, yeah, shout out, chat, to the Lakers. Shout out to the Celtics from 1985. Legendary stuff. Of course, we always love hopping back into the NBA time machine. So shout out. Maybe the next episode we do jump back into the NFL time machine, or we could like a Final Four. We watched the '05 Rose Bowl, so I guess another bowl game. We could watch another bowl game type legendary NCAA football game as well too. Could be the path to go, but maybe just again the football path maybe is the right path for the next live stream. But the NBA hot tub time machine never goes wrong as well too. It's legendary matchups all over the place. It's just what it is. So Magic and Bird, I don't feel like we did them service tonight, of course, with the focus ended up being on the Tubi Hall of Fame. It is what it is. But also, the Bird and Magic were in the finals every year in the 80s. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to retroactively review these guys' career. I mean, maybe we just watch another Bird Magic game on the next live stream also as well too. Because make no mistake, these have been Dennis Johnson games. It is what it is. The Dennis Johnson performances have gone crazy. But yeah, shout out, chat. Of course, like I said, we will be on later this week as well too. Maybe watching old sports. I don't know if we have any anniversaries as well too. We'll have to check the schedule, I guess, and see what's on the slate. But exciting month, chat. A lot of exciting stuff happening this month. Of course, in the sports world, maybe outside of the sports world as well too. Who knows? But exciting nonetheless. So yeah, like I said, stay locked in on the YouTube if you want to join us for the future live streams. The past live streams, of course, are on here as well too, if you want to check those out. And if you want to check out the live streams on the podcast platforms, they do get posted there, so they're available on like Spotify, Apple, and various podcast platforms as well if you want to access them in that way. So join us again this week for more fun stuff in the sports, movie, music universe. We'll be hanging out, having a good time, watching along to something. I'm sure we'll have to check the schedule, like I said, and see what's on the slate next. But yeah, stay tuned, chat, and enjoy the rest of your